All right, hey everybody. Hey everybody, thank you so much for your patience. Y'all know I do not like being late, but I had some major technical issues again today. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and get a new computer because this is just not it. All right, so let me go ahead and get started here. Hang on guys, 1 second. I gotta check something. All right, I don't know what's going on with it. All right, guys, sorry about that. If you guys are first timers here, welcome to my channel. If you are coming back for a second time, thank you so much for stopping by. You know the drill. Leave me your city and state, and I am going to try to get this thing squared away over here, you guys. I'm telling you, so one day I'm going to have somebody who's going to volunteer and come over here and help me do the stuff behind the scenes because it's a lot. All right, so let's see. We got your cities and state. We have to start with here. Got my screen together, finally. All right, and we have our live stream set up. Okay, perfect, perfect. Sorry, guys, for the little glitch. We have a special guest back here today. I'm going to be introducing her in just a second. But I want to tell you guys my mission, getting all settled in. If this is your first time watching, I want to give people information on how to live a better life. And I feel that if people are healthier as people, when they join into a relationship, they will have better relationships and enjoy themselves a lot more. So if you want to receive content like that, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do content like that on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then every Sunday, just like we're doing now, I have my live stream. Live stream is on every Sunday. All right, let's see. If you want to show some support, you can join my Patreon. My Patreon page, and thank you all to my patrons who support me every single month. I love you guys to death. And if you guys are a patron, you get automatic access into my Sunshine Club, which I will talk a little bit about at the end of this live stream. So we'll go ahead and do that in a little bit. All right, so let me introduce my special guest today. We have Charelle Thomas here. Hey, Shirelle. Hey, girl. She is a certified intimacy coach, and so she is qualified to talk about what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm really excited to get into all that in just a little bit. Let me get her. Let's see. I had a little, I had a little tough time. I had all your little graphics set up, but I'm telling you, I just need to stop being cheap and buy a new laptop. So you guys can follow her at Charelle E. Thomas on Instagram. And we're going to have her information in the description that you guys can get it in a little while because my little graphic is not working for me today. So just bear with me, y'all. I'll be on the struggle bus today. Charelle knows. I was telling her before the show, I said, pray for me, child, because something that should have taken like 30 minutes is taking all day long to do. All right, so let's see here. We're going to just get right into the topic since this is just not letting me be great. Anyway. All right, girls. So right off the top, we both need some wine, I think.
All right.
Right off the top, what made you want to get into this field of, if you want to share, being an
Yes.
intimacy expert?
Yeah, I do. I love sharing this because a lot of people think that like they have no idea like what caused it and so on and so forth. And to me, it's kind of like a simple but true like story. So when I was younger, my mom actually got pregnant when she was 14 and she had my brother when she was 15. So she was very adamant about preparing my siblings and myself for, knowing about sex and not actually like falling for it. And I laughed because she said that she had sex with the guy because he promised her a Snickers bar. And she didn't know what she was getting herself into. Her mother did not allow them to have a lot of sugar, so
She was just whatever that is, sign me up. Bless her
exactly
heart.
pregnant. But because of that, that was her drive and motivation about educating my brothers and myself. So
Yeah.
we had our first talk about sex when I was 10.
Oh wow.
And it was very, very detailed,
Yeah.
very like, wow, okay. And I'll never forget when the way that she described certain things to us, like
Right.
when they were talking about ejaculation, because we got down to the nitty-gritty, like
Right. Mama was not holding back.
and she was like, it smells like when a guy ejaculates, it smells like bleach, but it looked like mayonnaise. And I'm 10. So it was
You're
just like
scarred for mayonnaise.
but it was accurate though.
That is hilarious.
So like that was my first introduction to it. And then afterwards, like she was very big on pushing information all the time. She used to bring home encyclopedias of STDs. I didn't even know that many STDs like existed.
Right.
But it was all for us to learn and understand. And it was something that I was always intrigued about, not like from the physical side, but you know, the science behind it and like emotion and meaning and so on and so forth. So I thought that, okay, according to the way society portrays sex and everything in relationships, if I learn how to master this and master sex, then my relationship is going to be on point. I never have to worry about cheating because I'm going to be the prize. Needless to say, that was not the case.
It didn't solve all your problems.
Exactly. I did years and years of studying, you know, about sex and relationships, but primarily sex. Like that was my focus because I thought that was like my safe haven to making sure my relationship is solid and stable. So fast forward to me getting married. I don't know how, but like eventually it got to the point where every time we would have a get together or something like that, I would be in a bathroom or in a bedroom surrounded by my family members. They're like, okay, teach me how to do this. Okay, tell me how to do that. And it was just like I loved it. I loved talking about it. So I taught them. Like we would talk about it. And one day, my really good friend of mine, she was like, "I'll pay you if you teach me how to do this." And I was like, "You gonna pay me?"
Right.
Like, she is the cheapest person I've ever known. So that's when I knew, okay, this is valuable if she's gonna pay for it. So fast forward, like afterwards, after that, I just saw it as that's when the light bulb went off. Okay, so what do I need to succeed as being a love and intimacy coach? I didn't even know what I was going to be called, but I knew that I wanted to help people within their relationships, within their sex life, within their love life, helping them build that solid relationship. And I became certified. The first coach that I actually found was when my husband and I separated. I felt like something was wrong with me and I was broken. So I came about her, and then I ended up going through Mind Valley and receiving like certification. And she was like amazing. She's passed away since then, but her name is Sam Isidora. Her teachings transformed my life. Like the minute I learned my first lesson from her, right? First of all, we were my husband and I, my ex-husband and I were separated. And I wasn't getting any action, none whatsoever. You would think that I had married or whatever, like on me. And none whatsoever for like 2 years. I took her course. After listening to her trainings, I walked outside and this man literally, like my neighbor who I had seen plenty of times before, he literally like stared and just watched me walk like, oh my God, this amazing being. Who is that?
Wow.
How that shifted was my energy. I'm like, wear, you know, the same type of clothes. Like it's nothing revealing or anything.
It's not your lipstick.
That's when I was like, oh my God, this is really working. So yeah, it was like a no-brainer to me because like all my life, if you see my room, everything in here is love, 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 love. Everything, all of my decorations, all over my house. And it's always been that way ever since like I was younger, in my young adulthood as well. I was always attracted and drawn towards love. So it was like a no-brainer for me to become like a love coach. And all in all, like I researched it. I just really indulged in it. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. And then I just received the certifications and training that way.
That's really cool. And I think that, sex is often this like taboo thing to talk about in some circles. But as you said, your fascination with love, it's just an extension of love, or it should be, which we are going to get into that. There's a lot that I want to talk about. I want to say shout out because for whatever reason, the comments were super lagging. So they barely came in like a minute ago. So I want to say hey to some heavy hitters. We got Inyatu over here. We have Troy. Hey guys, we have some of the people that we really look up to in our field. Our peers are watching, so it's awesome to have the support. Nyatu was doing an amazing live stream earlier today on his Facebook, and Troy is always dropping great videos. So it's nice to have you guys here. Thank you so much for holding it down for the fellas. I am really excited, despite all the technical glitches. I'm telling you, and I like being really transparent and as authentic as I can. But you were talking about my pre-show preparation and all that stuff, and for me, it's like I feel that so many things can go wrong. We want things to be perfect, we want things to go smoothly, but at the end of the day, anybody who is put in a position, actually, not even I was going to say content creators, but anybody who's out there, we are trying to serve others, and so when that is your focus, it's easy to kind of get back on track even when stuff happens because I am such a control freak. I want everything to flow smoothly. I want everything to look perfect. And, that's one of the things that this has taught me is just let go, especially with live stream. Because at least when you're recording a video, you can start over, you flub or whatever, or you realize there's something in the background that shouldn't be there, or whatever. But when you're live, you just got to go. So shout out to everybody who's been rocking with me, bloopers or nah. And hopefully we'll have a lot of fun. So one of the issues that I had was that I couldn't print out my notes. So I apologize, you guys. I'm gonna be looking down at my phone to reference things. So I don't want you to feel like I'm not engaged because I keep looking down, but normally I have it in my line of sight. So y'all get the behind the scenes tea right now. Okay, so let's just start talking about what we're gonna be talking about. Something that I don't relate to, don't understand, but really want to get to the bottom of this. Why does it seem like there are a lot of women who don't enjoy sex? I don't understand. I don't get it. I feel like a lot of women talk about sex like it's a chore. And now here's the thing. I want to say this before I let you, just take off with this question. I want to not talk about the obvious, which is, well, he's just not doing what he's supposed to do. So let's take out really bad sex and let's take out the guy who is just using her as a way to get off, because some guys just use a woman's vagina like to masturbate. They're not actually trying to make love with a woman. So let's take those two things off the table. Why do you think that so many women can just go without it? It's not a big deal.
There is a lot of reasons. But I'm gonna go back to I'm also a manifestation coach. So I'm gonna go back to desire. I feel like it all starts with desire, and the reason why they don't desire it is because of the way society portrays sex to be. Like they teach women to use it as a leveraging tool with man, not as what it is.
It's deep.
Yeah, like as a punishing, this is a consequence. If you don't act right, then I'm going to withhold my body, as opposed to the act of what sex is. Like it's not only, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that you saw my little aha moment, but that makes sense when you said a leveraging tool, because I was going to reference Kadeem and Deval. He was talking about how, we were having it all the time, and then once we got married, but that would explain why. It's just a tool, it's a method, it's a means to an end to get the ring or get the guy or get the relationship, whether it's conscious or not. And so she's just acting her true self afterwards. It was never herself. And I had someone close to me say that. I didn't realize I really wasn't into it. I just was acting very sexual because I thought that's what I needed to do to get a man. I'm sorry, I just got all fired up because I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah, like that. And then when they get in the relationship, they see it as a form of punishment. The foundation is a lot of women use sex to feel love. They get that love and they get that foundation. Then it's like sex goes out the door, which is horrible. but also in dating and relationships. Like I get a lot of clients who come to me and say, he want to have sex with me, but I want him to buy me this. And it's just like, you cannot use
They're not
sex.
connected.
Exactly. Two totally different things. If you
Yeah.
want him to spend his money on you, then ask him to spend his money on you, but don't use that in exchange for
Or
money.
the
Like
reward. Good job. You're gonna get some.
exactly. It's prostitution, whatever way you try to look
But at
at
least
it.
they get well. No, I was gonna say they paid in favors. At least she's getting paid in coins. This was just getting paid in favor. You took out the trash. Okay, honey. That
Exactly.
just seems like
Exactly.
it would be so demeaning. Like
Yeah.
I would be devastated if my partner was like, depending on how good I'm feeling about you, I'm gonna get like. I feel like if that happened to women in the reverse, let's just say on the rare occasion they are in the mood, I think a lot of times we as humans, I don't even say women, but we as humans, we don't put ourselves in the other person's shoes. So how
Mhm.
would you feel if somebody was like, "Oh, you pissed me off. Well, you're not getting any." Well, what if he said, "You
Exactly.
pissed me off, so I'm not gonna pay for your nails this weekend"? Like
Exactly. Yeah, but you got to think about that like in relationships. That's how people are. I know for
barter.
me, when my ex-husband used to make me mad, mine was, okay, you make me mad, I'm not talking to you. And it's just
Mm,
like, what? Like this is not working towards the common goal, which is to be in a relationship. They
right.
think that, and just like you had mentioned yesterday about, going into relationships with that energy of marriage as opposed to the singleness. A lot of those single traits come up when you feel betrayed and you feel rejected within a relationship. And that's another thing, that cut off the sex is like, okay, if you make me feel a certain way, then I'm going to act as if we're not even in a relationship.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I definitely I'm gonna put a pin in that because I want to add to that specifically. Make me a little note here so I don't forget. But I think that is so important. I want to get back to what you were saying about they forget that they're not single and they go back. So let's see. Let me just make a little note here. Okay, there we go. All right. Um, so we were talking about why women don't want to. So you said they're already from the beginning kind of brainwashed into that. I know, especially in the Christian community,
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
lot of shame, and I
Yeah.
don't even mean it because sex is something that people are just not supposed to talk about other than don't do it. I
Yeah.
think that even when it comes time for marriage, women just assume it's going to just be natural, but because it's something that they're so subconsciously ashamed about, they
Yeah.
don't enjoy it. They're having a hard time. And if I can go here, um, I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that a lot of black women specifically have an issue with fellatio.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if any other cultures have that, but I heard somebody say that they had an ex who said that they were better than that they were raised better than that, or something like that, but yet would turn around and want it from him. So I was like,
Yeah.
so are you saying he wasn't raised better than that? Or they think it's a gender thing that only men should, like,
So another thing that come down to why women don't really want sex and why especially black women have a
mm,
problem giving fellatio is because of the society, perspective that it's associated with. Like in society, if you think back, look at TV shows, like they
mm,
used to have separate beds,
right,
like husband was sleeping one, a wife was sleeping another. Like sex was not something that was common. It was not something that was talked about, even
right,
though that's how we were all conceived. But in society, we portray it. It's presented. Once you get married, sex goes out the door. That's programmed into our lives
mm,
over and over and over again into our minds. And then the same thing with fellatio, black women. I remember growing up, like I remember we were like, I ain't no hoe. I ain't gonna do that because that's what it was associated with. If you were able to
mm.
please a man with your mouth, that meant that you were a hoe. That meant that something was wrong with you.
Ah,
You were,
little
you know,
nasty girl.
image. Right, right. As opposed to, now, like
What that
I
mouth do?
exactly, yeah, exactly. Like now we're coming around and more people are doing it, more and more people are into it. But that's also another reason why so many people, so many women in our culture don't know how to do it because you know, we first of all, there was this shame associated with it, and now that that shame is being brushed up under the rug, now it's like, well, what do I do? Like, how am I doing it right? And another thing, it was like, especially with me growing up, we moved to a suburb of Chicago, and like all the black guys used to say, I want me a white girl because white girls know how to get head.
Right.
For me, I was my best friend is white, but I was like, well, hell, she gonna teach me how to get some because I was like, I want my man, you know, like.
Why do you think it's our community though, specifically?
Mhm.
What do you think it is about the black community that found it so offensive versus the others?
So first of all, in a white community, white girls consider that as there's still a virgin if they just give head and give
Mm.
oral sex and don't do anything else. Like it's common for them. Like they would give oral sex on the back of the bus and not think anything about it. But black girls, no, hell no. Like ain't no way. You know, like there was a different standard came associated with, you know, oral sex. So I think like it's all about the conditioning. It's all about these
Mm.
preconceived notions, and that's what caused us to hold back. I remember my sister-in-law, which is what, a year younger than me. Her and my brother has been together since she was 14. And I remember she was talking to me and my cousin like about, you know, performing oral sex like on my brother or whatever, because we very open, you know,
Yeah.
talking. So me and my cousin looked at each other like, we ain't doing that. But it was all about those preconceived
Yes.
ideas that this is something that we should not be doing. Like
Right.
it's shame and it's guilt. But I'm gonna tell you, that conversation with her was what caused us to open up our mind. That it may
Mm.
not be so bad. My brother is in love with her and have always been in love.
Right.
So for us, we were like, okay, like maybe we should consider it.
Yes. I remember being a kid and it was the same thing in our house. It was a very, my mother made it very comfortable to ask any question. There was no shame in that, you know, having the conversation. And interestingly enough, my mother is not black. So maybe, I don't know. But I just remember when I was old enough and I was really naive. It took me a long time. We were very sheltered in a good way. So I was probably a lot older than most people when I finally realized what it was. And I just remember asking my mom, I was like, but why? Like, why? Why would somebody want to do? Like, I was confused. She just was just kind of like, well, one day, you know, it'll all make sense. So I was just like, I don't know. That's where they urinate. I don't. Yeah,
Oh,
it didn't click. It didn't click. My little mind couldn't grasp what the upside was to that. So you do a course. Side note, you do a course and you teach specifically technique, if I'm not mistaken. Okay,
specific.
if somebody wanted to learn, is it like, you know, how can they sign up, or you know, is it like a video they watch, or do you do a in-person course, or what do you do?
So I do have basics to fellatio. So if anybody is interested, they could just reach out. I do have that where they, you know, I can share that with them for free. I do have personalized like coaching sessions, and this is where we just go deeper. Like, you know, how we mentioned about those societies, like those shame,
Mm,
that guilt. Like, I dig deep and help them overcome that, and then we work and build confidence and then work on the skill set. So that's something that I also do as well, like
okay,
with the sessions as well.
because
We used to do in-person workshops, but of course with COVID,
right. And
that's
I
no
would
longer.
say, you know, me being naive before I knew an actual expert, I always thought of it like, oh, people who just want to be really kinky and they want to take things to the next level. And, but it's not. I didn't realize there was such a therapeutic aspect behind it.
Yeah.
Because there are people, I know someone very dear to me who had major sexual trauma, major sexual trauma. And even though she's in a loving relationship and married forever, it is an obstacle. And she has tried a lot of things. I don't think she's tried specifically a sex therapist, but I'm thinking that might be something good. The other thing, and I know we kind of jumped around this. Oh, Troy says men hate that reward pity sex thing. I'm positive that these comments are coming in really late on my device. So I'm going to go ahead and open it on my phone, you guys. So again, apologize for looking down, because I could tell when the comments come back like super late after we've said something. But we were talking about part of the other reasons. Were you about to say something? Actually, I feel like I cut you off.
It's not even coming through on my end. So just so you know, the comment. So what
Oh,
you
okay.
said,
Yeah, and it's not coming through on my. I don't see it on my phone, so my system is actually faster than the phone. So that's super weird. Um, but we were talking about the reasons why women don't seem to enjoy sex. But one of the things could be pain. We were talking about. I remember being young and finding out that a friend of ours, they got divorced, and it was a couple that we knew, and it wasn't because they couldn't get along. They couldn't get it on. Like, he was endowed and she was very petite. So I mean, I would imagine that's another reason why some women don't enjoy it. Is there a workaround? I mean, I don't know about
so
that, problem specifically, but
yeah, definitely with, a guy being on the bigger side, like there's definitely workarounds to that because of positioning,
mm,
and different things and teaching women. Also, another thing that I teach is Kegels because that help work those muscles to loosen them up. If a woman is
oh,
very tight, like it doesn't matter. It like say this was me. If I'm clenching it and I'm uncomfortable, there's no way that you can penetrate that. And if you do get in there, it's going to be very uncomfortable for the both of us. So it's teaching Kegels to relax those muscles. There's
see, I
different
thought
things.
they were the opposite. I thought it was tightening them.
They definitely tight, but they tighten and relax. Think about working out. The
Oh,
more you strengthen the muscle, the looser that muscle gets.
the
And
more flexibility. Okay,
exactly.
okay.
The same thing with Kegels. And then I already mentioned about positioning. Lubrication can be, utilized to help get that going. But another thing with lubrication, like people don't realize that when a woman is, first of all, it's natural for a woman to produce her own lubrication.
Mm-hmm.
If she's not, then there's different things that can be pinpointed to get to the bottom of why. It can be the foods that she eat. It can be you guys are starting too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Women need that foreplay, and that's like how we were talking about on orgasm, that video on orgasms. Like you have to start with the woman working her mental and her emotional side before you get to the physical side, because if those two are not stimulated, typically that part of the brain is done. It's off.
I
And
feel
you just
like
go to physical, like it's uncomfortable.
I feel like men need to understand that it's not just a preference. It is literally the way our bodies are designed. And I'm trying to think of, you know, anything else that would be similar. The only thing I can think of is like cotton mouth, just think like what men and women both have. Like imagine how cotton mouth feels and your lip is kind of getting stuck in your teeth and it's just, your throat's all dry. It's just not a pleasant thing. And, it's not the best example, but it's not comfortable for a woman. And so like you said, because it's a natural thing for her to self lubricate,
Mm.
sometimes just being patient will solve the problem. And I wanted to get into the psychological. I'm going to jump around just a little bit, but I want to get in the psych of this. We have had so many lies being told to us, and I've been mentioning this forever. I'm starting a series, putting together this series for YouTube, talking about the different lies that have been given to us starting around the 60s, because we really had kind of like a set of rules in America specifically, and then there was this liberation. And before people tune me out and say, oh no, I don't ever want to go back to the 50s, that's not where I'm going with this. There are always consequences that come with changes. And so even though there were things that helped to liberate us and make us more free and make life more enjoyable, there are some downsides. And I feel that having such an inhibition about sex has been to our detriment because people undervalue the sacredness of it. And to me, it's easy to talk about the faith thing and, oh God, what God says about sex. I'm not even going there because that's a matter of faith, whether you think it's wrong or not to have sex outside of marriage. But what I'm talking about is just being literal. If you don't know the person well enough, you're not going to be comfortable. And for a woman, being comfortable is everything. Yeah, it affects a man if he's not comfortable, but I don't think he needs to be as comfortable emotionally as a woman does.
Mhm.
Unless he's maybe being shamed or something, straight out, or she's mocking him, maybe that would kind of make it go away. But I think with women, we've been told something that goes against our nature. Like, we're not designed to meet someone and then hours later do the most vulnerable activity with that person. So, I mean, what are your thoughts with your background as far as like how a woman needs to be mentally when she's being intimate?
So I think it's very important for her to feel safe, for her to feel seen, for her to be, comfortable, like in that aspect.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I feel like sex is the easiest thing to come by, but it's all about the intentions behind it. When you're with this person, like, and my heart just go out to women. Like, I cannot have casual sex, like, period. I tried it for like 1 week of my life, and it was just so uncomfortable because it's like and even with the person that I tried it with, it was, I knew them, but I didn't know them mentally and
Right.
emotionally. So it's like you can't get that part of me or touch that part of me, tap into that part of me, and I actually enjoy it without you first tapping into my emotions and my mental.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't work. I believe in sexual chemistry, I do. But at the end of the day, the way that our brains are designed is kind of like you're having this act, but
Yes.
your brain is not mentally ready for it. So it's like,
It's like a block.
what's going on here? Yeah, yeah. Like, what's going on? Where does this fit? How? And especially if, like, if a woman like have an orgasm from it or actually climax from it, because the certain hormones are released during sex, oxytocin and dopamine. For a woman, oxytocin is released within a man's brain as well during sex. However, because of the testosterone, it overcompensates for the amount of oxytocin that is released and that he actually feels. So with the woman, if she actually climax and have an orgasm, that the oxytocin that's released in her brain, it automatically is like, I want to cling to this person. Oxytocin is a cuddle hormone. So it's like, whether it's real or not, your brain is perceiving this person to be somebody that you're in love with. So it's just like how do you, for a man, dopamine takes over when they climax. But dopamine is the same pleasure as playing basketball. It's the same pleasure as watching sports. It's the same pleasure as playing and winning a video game. Dopamine is released under those circumstances as well. So it's a different effect,
Right.
Men and women when it comes to sex. So that's why a lot of men can have casual sex and not be really affected by it, because it's a simple pleasure for them. But women, it's more so that oxytocin is released, and it's just like, I want this person. Like, I was addicted to this man, and it was just like, why couldn't I cut him off? But it was because of the pleasure that he was bringing me. My brain couldn't differentiate, and I had that emotional connection, that mental stimulation. He didn't have it, but I did. So it was like I just wanted more and more and more, like this addiction, because that's what the oxytocin was doing.
Right. And I think that explains too a lot why there's that double standard, not explaining it away or making it right, but men know that for them it is a release, like you said, like a video game, versus a woman, it makes her cling. And so I would imagine if I was a guy and my woman cheated, I would be worried that she had a connection mentally, versus a woman, with a guy cheating, there's just a hole, there. Because a lot of times it's more threatening if he has a romantic connection with her versus they just hooked up. Because y'all know, you see some of these chicks that the dude's hooked up with, and you're like, but your girl is okay. Because it's just for them, just a little release. And no thoughts in there. I want to go back to what you were talking about when it comes to different positions being available. A lot of guys, love to brag, oh yeah, I'm blessed, I'm hung, I'm this, I'm that. But a lot of women, if they're honest, don't love a super giant dude because they want to feel pleasure, and you're super limited. I know I'm trying to, even though I marked this video as not, eligible for 18 or under, don't show it to them. I still try to be a little bit discreet in how I'm verbalizing it, but can you, in a PG way, give some suggestions on which angles you should avoid if you know you are well endowed? Because it's not cute. Nobody's laughing. Nobody's like, oh, no, it's pain.
That's so funny, because that's like I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute, like I have not it's not in the forefront of my mind, but definitely with the legs up, you know, her on her back, the legs up, going all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
That provides deeper
Oh, more space.
penetration.
Okay.
Yeah, so it hurt more. Definitely, riding is easier for a woman with
Wait.
somebody who's
Sorry, you said her legs up hurts more if he's well endowed. So
yeah,
you're saying
because
avoid
it
that. Okay.
allows him to go deeper,
Got you.
especially if he's on an angle.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing. Like that's the foundation. The deeper he can go, those are the positions that you want to try to avoid.
So you would think it would be different because it's like, oh, there's more room for him to be.
But it's deeper for him, not for her. Like her body is the size that it is. Like you
Right.
can't make this bigger, you know? Like, but if you go in it from different angles, it won't hurt as much.
Okay.
And that's the point. And like that's why riding is easier for a woman with somebody who's bigger because she can stop it right there and
Right.
come back up. But he, on the other hand, can go far. And that's the part, that's the piece that causes pain. That's the piece that causes hurt.
Right.
Because a woman's body, now this is another thing too. So some women have lower cervix than others. Their cervix is lower than others. So the lower that a woman's cervix is, if he is big and he's hitting that, that's not good.
That's the end of the hallway, fellas.
Exactly.
No more normal hallway.
Exactly. So definitely different positions. From the back is a good one as long as he is not like, you know, pounding and going hard, as long as he know what limits her body can have. So riding from the back is good, but just think of any position where he can go deep.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that you want to typically avoid and try different positions and different movements. Now, I don't know. I've heard this. I have not done an extensive amount of research on this, but with a man's penis, the most sensitive part is the head anyway. So he don't need to put all of that like up in her.
Because you see these memes where the guys are like, stop pushing on my thighs, da 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 da. But it's like, obviously she's doing that because she's in pain. Like nobody stops pleasure. So you're not being sensitive. She's having to push you off.
Another thing, like so the one that I said, if she's laying her on her back and her legs are like going, you know, like this back like that. But if her legs are up like this and she's laying on her back, she can utilize her legs to control his body where he can't come, you know, as forceful.
And Anthony is saying exactly what most guys say, that the deeper positions are what they enjoy. And so that's the, you know, it just makes me wonder, like maybe some people aren't compatible because if, right, he's going to want to go as deep as he can and she's going to be in excruciating pain the deeper he goes. So
another thing too, which goes back to what we were talking about before, a woman's body, when she is aroused sexually, properly aroused sexually, not just, oh, we had 5 minutes of foreplay, let's go. The uterus actually lifts up. So it will allow for those deeper positions. However, if you're premature and you don't give her body time to do that, then that's where the pain comes in.
That is insensitive.
So foreplay, yes, is very important. That mental, that emotional, then the physical. Give it some foreplay and then you go all the way in. And it's like with that combination, that's what maximizes the sexual experience.
And her being relaxed, because I've actually learned this in my training. So my physical training, it's not sexual in any way. So shout out to my trainer. But when we're doing certain, they call it mobility exercises, when I finish working out before my cardio, we'll do mobility. And so certain things I'm stretching and I'm trying to push myself past where I think I can go. And inevitably, it never fails. When I do my breathing technique, which is allowing myself to relax, I'm able to extend more. So if you think about it, when a woman is relaxed mentally, because she's laying there, you think she's relaxed, but she's actually not as relaxed as she possibly can be physically. She can actually open wider when she relaxes. Because if you think about it, I'm trying to think of what the equivalent would be, but like, you know, when someone's fighting, they naturally want to protect themselves. And so women subconsciously, they want to close in. And so the more because that's not a natural position for her to be open. It's just not like we don't sit like that. We don't. There's no other time. We're just like so
Exactly.
to be in that situation, as much as you like the person, you have to be as comfortable as possible. Unless you're just a special child, and you just
Yeah. Some of us do stay ready, but
I love it.
however, I think, and I can speak for myself, like I am one who stay ready. Like I can do it at the drop of the dime, but mentally, emotionally, I built that relationship with myself where I know I'm not going to end up in the bed with anybody. So it's like I have that cushion to trust myself
Got
where
you.
I'm already, position myself that if I do have sex, that means that I am in alignment. Like you're not gonna find me just out, doing any of
Questioning
that.
yourself, should I be here? Is yeah.
Exactly. So because of that, I do like I stay ready, kind of like. So speaking about fellatio, like with gag reflex,
Yeah.
right?
I'm like, why is she grabbing her throat?
So like the gag reflex is it's a reflex meant to protect you. That if something go back there,
It's not
it
supposed to.
automatically closes up.
Yeah.
That's to protect you. But some people don't have gag reflexes. The reason being is their body is trained to trust that
Oh, you don't mean they don't have it in general. You're saying they don't have it in an intimate setting.
no, they train their body. Like even with brushing their teeth,
Oh.
eating ice. I feel like I'm telling on myself. But you know,
They don't know the backstory with the ice. Okay.
but certain things like you train your brain to know like you no longer have to defend me against that because I know how to prevent that from happening.
Gotcha.
So like for certain people who of course everybody was born with a gag reflex, but if you train your brain to know that you don't need it, then that brain is not going to act and react unless it feels like it needs to protect.
Right. No,
And
that
this
makes
is
sense.
same thing with the vagina. Like if you and emotionally, like if you're in tune with your body, you're in tune with yourself, you built that relationship with yourself, so you're able to trust that okay, if I'm in this position, that I know that it's kind of like keeping a gun loaded. I don't know why that was a personality that came to mind.
She about that thug life, y'all. Just playing.
Like if you give a loaded gun to somebody who is responsible, you don't have to remove the bullets and go hide it and everything else because you know that this person is responsible enough to utilize it in the right way. And I just think that that's the same thing when it comes down to that, opening up for a woman and being prepared, to have sex and the gag reflex, like all of that. It's like your body is trained.
Then the mind body connection is so powerful. I remember having kind of this breakthrough moment years ago when I was married and I would try to do exercise with my ex-husband. We go running or what have you, and he would be able to just go forever, not even be winded, and I'm dying. And so he said, "Oh my God, I can't." I'm not gonna read that. He'd be dying, and so what I realized is that my body would panic when I would run because the I think the brain associates an elevated heart rate with being in fear. Like back to like I don't believe in caveman times, but caveman times where you're running is that adrenaline kicking in. So what would happen is I would panic. I would feel panic because my heart was racing, which would then make my heart race even more. And then of course I'm so uncomfortable I stopped running. And so when he let me know you have to breathe, like I realized that your brain can override your body. And so when I reassure myself, like, this is okay, I am choosing to do this activity that's making my heart race, and I slow my breaths down, I can actually have my heart rate super elevated, but I don't feel that panic anymore. So really understanding the psych behind it, I think is really helpful in, what we were going over. Okay, so, yeah.
Point out, like, something that you taught me in regards to like when you're working out, like share about how you keep going and what you tell yourself, because I think that that's a technique that women can learn and utilize to build that strength up within themselves.
I was actually thinking about that when you you were talking about the gag reflex, because I was like, the little voice would be saying, "You're not choking. You're not gonna die." Because my daughter, when she would hate to eat certain foods, she'd be so grossed out by the idea of what she'd eating that she would throw up. But she thought she couldn't help it, and I'm like, no, you're allowing yourself to get so emotional that it's making you throw up. You have control over your mind to say, I'm not, or taking certain medications. She had to swallow a pill. I'm like, no, you tell yourself you're not going to, you won't. But so what Shirelle was referring to, for those of you guys watching, I realized that I do self-talk all the time, but it was toxic before I really became aware. So when I would be working out, my mind would be saying, I hate this. This is uncomfortable. How much longer do I have to do this? I want to stop. I hate this. This is uncomfortable. And it would just be this mantra that's just going over and over and over in my head, checking the time. How long have I been on here? How much time before I can get off? And when I made the transition to positively self-talk, that same sensation that I felt, let's just say if I'm on a treadmill and I feel it in my thighs or, my rear or whatever, I go, ooh, you feel that? That means it's working. Your body is about to be banging in a few more sessions. That's right, you do it. And I literally have this little, I call little Becky coach, like, all right, girl, you got this. Yes. And I get my little zone. I swear, people see me, they have to think I am on crack. Because I get all smiley, my eyes are closed because I'm picturing my little body. And I'm like, I'm not going to be wearing a cover up. I'm probably gonna dry off in the sun. I'm not even gonna have a towel. Like, y'all gonna take all this in because I worked hard for it all during the winter time. But but yeah, I sure it definitely could apply when you are as they say, I was trying to think of a good metaphor, but I can't think of a good metaphor for fellatio. So
You're tickling the pickle. What is tickle the pickle?
yes, there you go. I was gonna say, speaking into the mic, yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. So I feel like those reporters when they talk about a devastating story and then they go right into like, and then this week's on sale. So I'm like, okay, let me get serious because I'm about to talk about sexual trauma. It's like we're all smiling. So sexual trauma, what would you recommend to somebody? I had mentioned a person close to me who went through that and she still has not figured out. Like, I think it's been maybe 20 years they've been married. It has caused a lot of problems, and she knows he loves her. He knows she loves him, but she just can't break through that. So what would you recommend to somebody? I don't know how much you get into sexual trauma with your, with the coaching that you do, but what would you recommend to somebody who's either a man with someone who's experienced that or a woman who has experienced that and it's impeding her from having the type of relationship she wants?
So with a man, first of all, I would just highly suggest for him to be supportive and patient, very, very patient. And in order to help anybody, you have to see them as whole, see them as not a victim, and see them as the results that you desire. And I think holding that space, whether it's real or not, holding that space will help them both move closer to that desired end, as opposed to looking at this like, this is my wife, I love her, I respect her, but
She's broken.
she's experienced this. Yeah, she's broken. But if you can look at her like, this is my wife, I love her, I support her, we're gonna get through this. It's a totally different energy as opposed to looking at her as if something is wrong.
Right.
So that's for the man. Be supportive, be very patient, and then also see that overall picture that you both desire. And just encourage her, love on her, appreciate her, but to what she's comfortable with. Because a lot of times if a woman have been, or anyone for that matter, if they've been
that's true. I shouldn't just make it seem like it could only be a woman.
yeah, if they've been like, if they've experienced sexual trauma and haven't healed from it, there's certain triggers that can cause that. Like, I was working with a client and she talked about being touched in the small of her back, which that's something that a lot of women love.
Yeah.
But she was molested and that was the first place that they touched. Now it's the automatic trigger.
Right.
That, oh my God, do I have to protect myself and defend myself from this? So definitely be aware of those trigger points for, your partner. And then for the women, I wholeheartedly suggest just getting help. I think it's great that she's aware of it because a lot of women have actually experienced sexual trauma and have like are not even aware of it. I know for
Mm,
myself, I didn't experience anything physical firsthand, but incest ran in my family.
mm,
And I remember I was dating this guy. He was amazing, like
yeah.
everything, but he was older than me. Of course, he was like, I think like 48, and I was, in my 30s or whatever. And people would always say when they first saw him, he looked like your dad. And I was just like, what? And they would be like, oh my God, like he looked like your dad. But for me, I wasn't aware of what that incest had did to me. And it took me actually getting therapy to unpack that and
Mm,
realize that that was the reason why I didn't want to be associated with him, is because I didn't want to be associated with any type or form of incest. So it was
right.
like I was automatically rejecting him. So
Mm,
especially if women are aware of it, seek help. Even if you're not aware of it, like talk about it, whatever those pain points are, whatever's causing you fear, whatever's triggering you,
right.
whatever's causing you uncomfortable, use your emotions to guide you. And if you're not sure about it or even how to overcome it, seek help. There's nothing wrong with it at all it is it's kind of like the check engine light,
Yeah.
that come on in the car, or the gas light that come on in the car. It's just telling you that it needs maintenance. That's all. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's okay to say, this is what I feel. I need some assistance with overcoming it.
Right.
Doesn't mean that anything is wrong at all.
What's the
Just needs.
difference? What's the difference between somebody who just has a low libido and somebody who has a problem with, like, who's, let's just say there's somebody who's like, well, I don't really like sex that much. How would she know she's just doesn't have a high drive versus maybe there's something I've blocked in my past, or
That's kind of like a thin line to distinguish, because a
mm,
lot of people say, I say, sex is natural. If for some reason, shape, or form you don't want to have it, it's a problem.
okay,
Low libido is a problem because it's not natural. Like that those hormones associated with it, like all of that, it's a gift from God. It's not. Low libido is a crutch, or me
mm,
having some type of problem associated with my sexuality, it's a crutch. And it is a problem that needs to be addressed. So I don't think that there's a difference between, like, oh, I just don't want to have it. Like, there's a reason why you don't want to have it, and you need to get to the bottom of it.
okay,
Don't just settle for, oh, I have a low libido. No, I
okay,
feel like that's unacceptable. It's natural. Like, our bodies are meant to flourish, and that's part of, flourishing. That's part of our bodies, like, thriving.
okay, that makes sense. All right, so we talked about possibly being physical pain, having sexual trauma, being emotionally uncomfortable, and that would come from probably, well, that's just relationship stuff. And then the physical discomfort could also be you haven't had proper foreplay. Um, the other thing is, I put on here as ignorance of her body. So, especially if a person didn't have a lot of sex partners, or maybe she had maybe not an abusive partner, but somebody that shamed her or made fun of something. Because I know some people will say, oh, that's terrible, or that's, no one likes that, instead of just saying, I don't like that. And so then they
Mhm.
think that nobody likes that, or, what have you. So everyone has different preferences. What do you say to the woman who doesn't know her body? We had a whole video on women who cannot climax. I keep correcting myself. Women who have not yet climaxed vaginally. Some women who have not climaxed at all. What do you say to that woman who just really doesn't know her body, and therefore she's kind of like, I don't want to go there because I don't really know what I'm doing?
First of all, we have to get to, she has to have a desire for it.
Mm,
So if she doesn't have a desire for it, I feel like that's the first thing that needs to be addressed, which kind of ties to our other question, is like, you have to unpack that. So first of all is a desire. And then next it's all about, I feel like it's so easier, like, for a woman, because when she's turned on, she's on. If she's not, then of course, she's not going to respond and react and have those orgasms. But once a woman has that mental and that emotional like connection, it's so much easier to allow a man in physically and
Mm.
to actually have an orgasm. I had someone that I was working with, and she had mentioned to me how she had never like climax a certain way, because there's 12 different ways that a woman can actually have an orgasm, and she was saying that she had only had like one way up until she was 42.
Mm.
And when she experienced that something different, it was like a whole new enlightening, a whole new world opened up. And I said, think about what you were thinking and what you were feeling before you went and you
Mm.
had that sexual experience. And she said, I went into it with the idea of I just want to satisfy myself. I just want to please myself.
Mm.
And because of that, it allowed her to experience that pleasure she didn't even know existed.
I'm glad that you said that because I feel like, and I've had this conversation with guys, and it's just me and guys, they get really candid because I really want to know. I'm just like this, soaking in all the information. And guys crack up because they said the stuff that you guys, meaning ladies, care about, we don't give a beep about. Like I know women will not be in certain positions because
Mhm.
they are self-conscious about their midsection. They don't like it buckling a certain way, or they don't want their cellulite to be shown. So many women are like, turn the lights off, or let's get under the covers. And the guy's like, I'm super visual. I want to see everything, or my boobs don't sit up here like the girl on Playboy. Most of these guys don't give a crap about, they just want, are they real, are they fun, are they, whatever he's into, he doesn't care. So we have to really start to become selfish about the experience the way we accuse men. I don't mean selfish meaning don't care about his pleasure, but I'm saying they're gonna get theirs. Like that's their mentality. The nice ones are like, I'll let her get hers first, but I'm going to get mine. Women are
Mhm.
like the only ones that are just repeatedly doing this thing and not climaxing. And so I love what you were saying about having that mindset because she has to be comfortable. And this is why I keep going back to when you do it outside of order, it causes a lot of problems because you're probably not going to be comfortable if it's a one night stand saying, hey, I don't care for that, or I want to try this. There are so many things getting to know a person that is the most intimate thing. So I can't imagine being one comfortable enough to being naked. This is no judgment. I'm being very honest here. Being comfortable being naked, but two, trying to figure that person out because it's not like riding a bike. Every single person is different. Your chemistry is different with different people. So you're trying to figure things out. It just seems like it would be so awkward. So it would it would seem like you would have more pleasurable intimacy with someone that you have an intimate relationship with because
Mhm.
you can say, oh, can we do this instead? And we talked about that in the previous video, how to tell a guy lovingly that ain't it. But sometimes men just don't know, or their past girlfriends liked something, and so they might be trying it with you. And it's funny because I would do posts in the group saying things like, women, do you want your breasts to be touched? And some women are like, I don't even know if you're doing it hardly. I mean, I have no satisfaction. And other women are like, we gonna fight if you don't pay attention to them. So you just never know. Some women don't like oral. Some are like, we gonna fight if we don't have oral. So you have to know your person is what I'm saying, and be able to be comfortable and talk about what you want and learn your body because every little kid who's done their thing in private, they took their time to figure out exactly what works, and that's how they know how to please themselves so quickly. But with a partner, you have to do the same thing with your partner's body because now you're using somebody else's body and not, your hand or a device or what have you. So it's the same concept.
Yeah.
Being Christopher Columbus and figure that out.
Lauren. Yeah, yeah. And I think like definitely having an open mind, just being aware. Like I was reading a Facebook post earlier about somebody had asked, like, tell your sneaky links experience. And some of the things that people were saying was so flippin' disturbing. Like
No.
they were talking about, how they had chemistry with a guy at the club, went to his house, and they woke up and they were in like a drug house. One of them said like that he didn't have a ceiling, woke up. One of them was saying like they didn't realize he lived with his mother. And one of them was saying that the bed sheet smelled like spit and his feet stink. There's no way in hell. Like, I'm still going. If I notice this and I'm still going, and like that, I feel like that's why it's so important
I
to
just feel like I
know
can smell
your
the slime and stuff.
partner. I know. And they're saying, well, I got him back because I just blocked him. No, no, no,
You'll
no.
never get that
That's
night
why
back
it's
in your
crazy.
life.
What you
I
say?
said you'll never get that time back.
Exactly, your body. Like now you done picked up his energy, all of that. But if you just take the time before you go to somebody's bed, you could have figured out that he lived with his mom. You could have been aware that you were in a drug house.
Know his
Like
last name first.
exactly. Exactly. Let that be your bare minimum. You know, like that's standard. So,
At least
some
you can call out Mr. Jefferson. You know, like at least you can.
exactly. Exactly. And I feel like that's how people end up in situations where they end up pregnant and don't, know who the father is. And another thing scientifically behind it, a woman is the horniest or the most ready for sex when she's ovulating. And not only that, but her body gives off a natural, I don't want to say like odor,
Was it
but
pheromone?
pheromones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives off pheromones, and it's energetically. People can pick up on that, and that's when guys are out for. They sense that, and they're going for the kill. Like they want. That's their whole thing. Is like I'm drawn to this person. I don't know why, but I'm gonna have sex with them because that's how science is.
Right.
Like it's everything behind it. And a lot of women will end up in a situation where they're sleeping with someone around this time, and that's how they end up pregnant because that was the whole thing that brought them together.
Right.
Your body is ovulating, it attracted in this man. He smelt it, he wanted something, he took part in that, and then you have no idea who he is because you fell for it.
Or his last name.
It's also getting to know and understand your body,
Yeah.
and that's the reason. Like for me, I know it. The minute that I can sense it going on, I look at somebody and be like, "Ooh, they look good." That's not a common thought, where I'm
Right.
going around analyzing men. So it's just like let me get myself in check. Like I say all the time, I'm like a dog in heat. I am, but
I
I've
was like, I
learned.
can't even lie. When I'm in love, all bets are off.
So this is
Take your
anytime.
vitamins, sir.
But I mean, like, I still feel like a dog in heat, even if I'm not in a relationship. Every month when I ovulate, the wall can look good to me. You can look like a bottom of your shoe. But I understand that that's the science behind it. It's not my logical brain. It's more so of that,
Got
the
you.
hormones raging right now.
And I would say too, and last but not least, to cover the why she doesn't want to have sex, I want to say this to the women who are married or in a committed relationship, because these things, what I'm about to say is going to be really tough for a guy to say, and probably shouldn't say it if you want to stay alive. But when you're in a partnership, you are relying 100% on your partner. So your partner is reliant upon you, if they're being monogamous, to have that enjoyable side of life that they want. And so if you're not having sex because you're not comfortable, or you're not having the type of sex that you want or he wants because you're not comfortable, and I'm going to stereotype and say women, it's women, it's usually women you hear turning men down. Do what you need to do to feel better about yourself. And you chose to be in a relationship. You chose, and I know that women, our bodies change when we have babies, but that's not an excuse. Because I'm just going to call it out. It's not an excuse. I've had 2 babies, and for me, what my problem was, my diet. It was not the babies coming through, because that weight came off. That weight came off. It wasn't until I stopped caring what I ate and didn't work out that things changed. And I know that, yes, there's the outlier of certain medical conditions, but not all medical conditions keep you from being able to just walk down the street. So if it's because you're not comfortable either, you got to move past how you feel, especially if he's still into you, or do something about it, because it does feel amazing to feel sexy coming out of the shower and feel like when you see your mirror, your image, you don't grimace. You want to kind of look back and be like, yeah, girl. So let that be a motivator, just out of love for your partner. Maybe you're comfortable being fluffy, but really you're not if you're holding back. So
I want to add to that like a quick tip,
yeah.
you know, for women to walk away with when it comes down to that. Like a lot of people think, like for me, I'm small, I'm slender, but that doesn't mean, you know, I'm 1,000% comfortable and confident in my body. I hate my midsection. Well, let me back up. I hated my midsection until about 2 days ago, but I it dawned on me like I used to hate my toes. I hate it,
Mm.
and for some reason, like I would hide them. I would, my feet is so ugly. Like until one day, my friend took my shoe, and this guy that I like saw my feet, and he was like, damn, your toes are pretty. And he was just like, oh my God, like, I just want to kiss your feet. And it just like changed everything around. So
Ah.
then what I started doing is like, I started admiring my toes. Like I was looking at him like, wait a minute, he sees something that look good, but
I
I'm looking
like
at like
that.
my feet is jacked up. And the more like I have pretty feet, you know, I have learned to accept it, you know, and appreciate my feet. But one of the tricks that I use is I started looking at it like, what about my feet actually look good? Like I don't have any corns, my toes are clear, you know, my toenails are a healthy color. I keep
Right.
my toes painted. So it's like I started looking at those things. And then it got to the point where when I would put my lotion on, I would admire my feet. Like, oh my
Aw.
God, my feet are beautiful. Like my ex, he used to call me pretty toes. Like now I'm known for having pretty feet. So
But you had that mental block before.
exactly. And that's why I said I hated my midsection up until about 2 days ago because it dawned on me the same way that I shifted my perception about my feet is the same way I can shift my perception about my midsection. And another thing that was interesting is like my ex, a different ex, but like he would always like grab me by my stomach and he would like want to rub it. And that used to get up under my like, don't
Men
you
love
touch my
that.
fat, like, leave it alone. But now you know, when I had that revelation, like you shift your perception of your toes, like you could do the same thing with your midsection. And I did it with my butt too. You know, like my butt used to be flat. Now I love my butt. Like you can't tell me nothing about
So
it.
you're
So
saying you
it's like,
accepted yourself?
exactly. So that is my trick for women. Like now I'm rubbing my stomach as we speak, you know, like I'm really admiring it. And when I put my lotion on, like I admire it. Am I 1000% comfortable in my midsection? No. But I know the more I own it, the more that I will become comfortable with it. And
Yeah.
other people will, you know, see that as well. Like I'll be able to see the results that I desire. So whatever it is, if it's your midsection, if it's your face, if it's your body, you know, start the same way you do that self-talk when you
Mm-hmm.
working out. Do that self-talk when you putting lotion on. Oh, I love my body. Whatever it is that you appreciate
Yeah.
about your body, focus on that and magnify that as opposed to saying, I don't feel comfortable, turn the lights off. No, find something that you do feel comfortable with, even if it's just your hand. Admire your hand. Oh, my hand is so beautiful. I love my hands.
Yeah.
Like, look at my physical body, you know, and then allow it to transfer into something else or that part of you that you don't like. Because I'm my midsection, I don't know if it's going to change, but I know I'm going to fall in love with it.
I love that. All of me, as John Legend said, love all of you. I want to unpack some myths next. This was some good stuff. I didn't realize that first section would go so long, but I love that because that means it's titillating. um, it's so funny because I don't really have a formula for my outlines. I just put whatever I want to talk about, and it's inevitable. It always is the exact amount of time. You know, it could be a shorter thing, but it ends up being a meatier conversation. Or I could have a million things, but we move through them quickly. It's just interesting how that always happens. All right, so let's go over some myths. I'm going to start with the one that we already did last time because I'm not assuming everybody watching this saw the other one. But I want to talk about whether it is a myth or not that you can desensitize yourself with using toys. So let's unpack that one.
Yes, you can, 1000%. And that is why a lot of women cannot climax from penetration and they need clitoral stimulation in order to actually climax. Because, and okay, so think about it, right? We've been talking about the brain a lot. the more you train your brain to believe something, the more your brain will start to believe it. So if you are causing, this type of sensation that man cannot mimic, in that area, and you're climaxing from it over and over and over again, your brain is conditioned to believe that this is what you need in order to climax that. But a lot of these toys are so powerful and they have so much vibration behind them that it causes that distinction that this is what you need. And it gets to the point where you can't even I got so many different thoughts like going through my mind at the same time. I can't even get it out. But it gets to the point where you can't even feel anymore. So I told you guys last time, like do that feather like touch.
Yeah.
When you have that like light sensation, it just sends chills all over your body. But if I was to get this toy that I'm just pounding and vibrating on me, like that light sensation is no longer going to be, you're no longer going to be able to feel it. Like I cut my boy's hair. After cutting 3 heads, with those clippers, that vibration causes me to lose that sensation within my hand because it's been vibrating there for so long. Same thing with the woman's body. The only thing is those nerves in that area are more sensitive and more delicate than any other part of our body. So the more you give it that type of pressure, the more you give it that type of sensation, the more it calm, those nerves need something stronger in order to compensate it. That's why when women start off with the toy, they can use a small toy. They can have it on that lower session, but the next time they go back, what they gonna do? They're gonna up that vibration. Then the next time they go back, what they gonna do? They're gonna up it some more. Now you're at the 3rd setting and you go up to 8, and after 8, then what?
You gotta look. I guess it's the same thing. Like I think we mentioned this in the video too, with somebody who watches porn that and does other things after a while, and same thing with a drug. Your body gets used to that next level, and it takes more to stimulate. So my question is it possible to reverse? Like, can you go back by getting off of it? Can you wean yourself off and build your sensitivity back?
Yep, I had to train a lot of my clients to do so. Throw that toy away, then you work with those light feather like touches. It doesn't even have to be in that area, but just all over your body. And what you're doing is you're heightening your senses. You're sparking that. Leave it alone for a while. And then when you get to that point where the wind blow and you feel a certain type of sensation, that's when like you can introduce that, again, and be able to have that type of stimulation that you did prior to using toys. That I know there's been this craze about like the rolls. I felt one. I'm like, I couldn't even put it on my body because I couldn't imagine, because it's so powerful and it actually like attaches onto the body. Like it's not where you have to hold it up there, but there's a suction where it actually attaches onto the body. I couldn't even do.
For research purposes, what is it called? I'm just kidding.
No, and I tell women all the time: if you desire to be pleased by a man again, don't use that toy. Wow. Because your body is going to be trained to it. It's convenient, it's easy. Right. You don't have to be emotionally, connected emotionally.
But it'll snatch your soul.
Exactly. You recharge it, it's there. You ain't got to work on, no wait on anybody else to get you. Leave it alone.
Yikes. Okay, so this one is a little bit of a squirmer. Odors down there. Now we still have some other myths to go through, but this one, okay? So I have heard men, I've said things like, what things do you want women to know about sex? And I didn't see that coming. Multiple guys were like, make sure it don't stank. So my question is this: are there some women who biologically just have a different, possibly unpleasant odor, or is it straight up poor hygiene?
I wouldn't say it's poor hygiene, but there's things to take into consideration. The
Okay,
type of food
break it
you eat.
down for us.
A lot
Save
of
some
women who
lives.
eat garlic, a lot of garlic, for some reason, you can smell it in that area. I don't know how, I don't know why, but certain foods that you eat can cause, that smell to come out. I remember, we're not even gonna go there, whatever.
She's
There's
like,
certain things like me, water and fruit. What do I taste like? What do I smell like? What I consume, water and fruit. And the thing about it is, it's all about your pH balance.
okay.
Like if a woman is eating a lot of pop, drinking a lot of sugar, like doing a lot of things that are acidic, like of course it's going to be off. Even when you sweat, like it's going to give off a certain type of odor, and not be so pleasant. But hygiene is definitely like a big part. One thing that, and I know I shared this with you before, but one thing that I used to mentor girls, and I would tell them, look, if you get in that shower, when you get out, before you allow that towel to touch any part of your body, you smell it. See what that towel smell like. You wipe your private area. Pull that towel back up to your face. If it does not smell the same, get back in the shower. There should not be any type of, you know, smell or odor or residue left over if you just got out of the shower.
Yeah.
Even if it is from sweat and food that make you, smell a certain way. If you just got out of the shower, that should be cleansed.
So
You're not sweating, those toxins are not coming out in that moment.
I've
Sorry, go
heard
ahead.
horror stories. Somebody confided in me. He said he was ready to do the deed. Everything was good to go. And he said it just was like, and she wanted to know why he stopped. And he told her. I was like, that, I don't even know if my little heart could, that would just devastate me as a woman, that like, I was emitting something so foul that the person was like, I don't even want to go there anymore. Like, he said,
what? I can't read it.
Anthony said, don't say that. He said, I'll never take a woman to a fish restaurant again. That is funny. Now people talk about the fishy smell, but does fish actually give a fishy smell when you eat it? I would imagine it's like a healthy food, so it wouldn't be an odor. But no, garlic is healthy too, so.
Yeah, garlic is healthy, but I feel like certain people's pH balance, like if it's off, it's easier for whatever smell like that you have to, come out in that area, in that aspect.
Got
So,
you.
yeah.
Okay, so I have another myth here. I know it was really encouraged, years ago, and it still is, I guess, slightly now, but doing products, like over-the-counter products, to do an extra cleaning. So is that necessary for?
The way that our body is designed, we need to give our body more credit than what people do. The way it's designed is able to fight off any and everything, but it's all about what you consume, what you eat. Food is medicine. No douche is needed. You should not be sticking anything up in you. I don't even use tampons. I don't recommend tampons.
They have a major warning label that will scare the crap out of you if you actually read that thing.
Like, have you heard of toxic shock syndrome?
We were told that all. I was so terrified of those things.
Yeah, it's not even worth the risk.
I had a friend who got that. Yeah.
The whole purpose, if you're on your period, is to flow out. It's not for you to push something back in there and try to stop it and all that. But anyway, like douching, same thing. No, you want to cleanse the inside of you, you sit in your tub and you soak. Even when I sit in my tub and I soak, I use, first of all, whatever's going down there is natural soap. Nothing that is perfumey, nothing. If you need perfume in order for you to smell a certain type of way, you need to adjust.
Consult a nutritionist.
Exactly. Seriously, like soaking in the tub with Epsom salt. That should do. They have yoni stings now. I've never tried it. That's something that I'm not against, but it's the same thing with the water. You sitting in the tub soaking. I just don't recommend putting anything inside of you except pure water,
I'll
you
say,
know,
or
so
your man. Okay.
allowing it to do it naturally itself, not you actually putting something up there. No.
Okay.
Only thing that should be going up there is your man's hand, his tongue, and his D. That's it.
That's it. Everything else, it should be an exit.
Exactly.
Okay, and then I briefly referenced this, but the myth that just some women can climax vaginally and some women can't. Dispel that or confirm that that is true, or that
We are
or that myth.
all capable of climaxing in 12 different ways. Now, some people haven't. I haven't even checked off all of those boxes, but we're all designed to, and we're all capable of it. It's a matter of if you're going to take the necessary steps in order to do so or not. I know I want to check off all 12.
Bucket list.
Huh?
I said bucket list.
Exactly. Exactly.
What are those marks on the wall? Don't worry about it.
No. But just because you haven't, don't mean that you're not capable of it yet. It's just a matter of figuring out, of one, having that desire too, because a lot of women don't.
Yeah.
A lot of women are just like, oh, this is a chore. Just come on, do your thing, and then get off me. But yeah, that desire is number one. And then two is just taking those steps necessary to position yourself to be able to you know, have those different types of orgasms.
Okay. Next, I want to talk about the benefits. So we talked about a lot of the negative things, but let's talk about, he said, ma'am, what's the 12? Oh, I'm sorry. She said, ma'am, what's the 12? You're going to have to go ahead and sign up for her course. No, I'm just playing. You can give however much or little you would like to give right now.
Okay, so I'll give you several.
Okay.
One that a lot of women don't know about is your nipples. Like nipples, I had heard of it before. What is that? Is that confession time?
I can attest.
See, exactly.
I didn't know that was possible.
Me either. Well, no, I knew it was possible. I just have never experienced it.
I didn't know until I experienced it that it was possible.
I experienced it and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, do it again. I love that. We did it.
That is a special talent for a man that knows. Yeah, that is a special.
But also, were you comfortable with him? Because that plays a part. Were you comfortable? Where were you mentally? You know, like, what was the experience like? It's not just like how I was like, okay, let's do it again. You know, It wasn't like that simple and that easy.
I was trying to sign him up for a Nobel Peace. Sir. That was exceptional. He didn't. It was like he discovered a cure for cancer and he didn't know. I was just like, let's just celebrate that. He said, okay, spill the tea. He said 12. I gotta know. All right, so we have nipple.
Okay, nipple, mouth. Mm-hmm. Mouth.
Wow.
I didn't know that one until I experienced that either.
Wow.
And I've only experienced it once.
Okay, so let me be ignorant for everybody who probably is ignorant with me. Is it mouth on mouth or something else on mouth?
It's mouth on mouth. And then I have actually had clients who I worked with where they actually experienced the orgasm from performing oral sex.
I actually know somebody who very much that works for her. Yeah.
So another thing is you have to think that there is how many nerve endings? I think it's like 8,000 like nerve endings like that's connected to the female reproductive system. Mm-hmm. So all of that are different, you know, different ways that you can orgasm.
Oh yeah, so, before you move on, I was gonna say somebody showed like a little diagram and they were showing the nerve endings because people were like, how could you off of a nipple? Okay, but they were showing that there's an actual nerve ending. There's a YouTube video, you can probably Google it, and it goes all the way down like through your belly area down to your nether regions, and so it's sending a signal. It's like almost like the brain is tricking, saying
they're connected. Same thing with the mouth. The mouth is connected as well. Wow. And that's why you can have an orgasm that way. There are, you know, clitoral, which is obvious, vaginal, which is obvious, anal, which is another one. Then there is G-spot.
I would say we gotta pause that. There is such a stigma with anal, and I actually did research because I had heard the term pegging, had no idea what it was, and looked it up. Well, that led me down a rabbit hole. No pun intended. I was like, bad choice of word. It led me down a rabbit hole to this lady. She was explaining how if men can get past the stigma, understanding that just biologically there are tons of nerve endings. So she was saying, I'm not saying that you gotta get in there and take one for the team, literally, but she was just saying, even if it's just even if you're just having stimulation, like touching, just in that area, there's so much sensation that will enhance pleasure elsewhere. So, okay, there we go. He said mouth so that one.
Anal. I did anal. Wait, I don't know what number that was.
So you said nipple, mouth, vaginal, clitoral, and anal. So anal. Five.
Okay, and then G-spot, of course. That's one. Then you got whole body orgasms.
Yeah. Where you just catch the Holy Spirit? Spirit fingers?
It's not like that, but you can feel it, and it's kind of like, oh my gosh, it's so flipping powerful.
Did you just have a flashback, ma'am?
Huh?
Did you just have a flashback?
No, yeah, I did. So it's like where it starts there, and especially for a woman, because like our orgasms can last up to, I don't know how long. I think it's like 1 minute and 30 seconds or something like that. But those are those whole body orgasms. But I basically, like, I work with clients teaching them how to do this. But the whole thing is like the energy start there, and it's building, building, building. And then like you just breathe it all up, and then you can just feel it like climax, and you it just feel like a tingle all over. So that's another, men are capable of it too. But yeah, I don't know how to train them to do all that. Again, I lost count. I keep losing count, and I keep moving my
That's okay. You were over there having flashbacks. I understand.
Okay, so whole body. Then there is squirting, of course. So having a wet orgasm.
And can you address this, because they argue back and forth in my group?
All women are capable of squirting.
Oh, is that what you say? That's not what I was going to ask, but that's a great question to answer. That all women are capable, because they were saying some women can, some women can't. And then two, is it? Yes, that was the other one. Is it or is it not urine?
No, it's not. It's coming from the urethra, but it has been scientifically studied that what actually happened is that there's this reaction that goes off, and it's actually behind. It's behind something that whatever causes those liquids to come out. But it's not pee. There has been traces of urine found in it sometimes, but the main reason is that's because it comes through
the same hose.
Shit, what was on mine? And then there is of course multiple orgasms.
Okay.
As one, so it's like different ways you can be stimulated. And then it's another one called where you can actually have two or more of those stimulations at the same time. And I forget what that one is called as well, but I feel like I'm missing one, and I don't know.
I was saying, we really put you on the spot asking for all 12. That was pretty impressive right there.
Thanks.
Impressive knowledge.
I'm like, if I would have known, I would have made sure I knew what the other one was. Like right
slide
before,
in her DM if you want the 12th one, guys.
What you think?
I said slide in her DM if you just really need to know that 12th one.
Oh, I'm about to see if it's in my notebook somewhere. But you can finish talking.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm gonna get my next thing set up. Oh yes, this is where I was so annoyed trying to get my graphics little graphics done, and my black folks always everything's little. Trying to get my graphics done, and my computer just completely started wonking. So for the next couple ones, we're not gonna have the little topic on the screen, but it's not really that big deal. There's just two separate ones. All right, so I do want to talk about what is really, really important. Oh, and this is the perfect segue to talk about what Shirelle has available. She is going to be she is giving away a little freebie, and I'm trying to remember the name. I don't want to butcher it. How to make him go crazy, drive a man crazy. What's
What? The number one thing that men desire in the
I
bedroom
was
and
totally off.
5 ways to tell if you're providing it or not.
There we go. So if you want to get that extra resource, you can click the link in the bio. It should be there already. I think I did it. Yeah, that's why I was running a little bit late because I was having all these glitches. But you can click that, sign up, and get that information. That's a little extra freebie, a little thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, just jump in if you have it.
What?
Oh, I thought you were about to get. I was saying when you if you find what you're looking for, just jump in. Don't worry about me. Um, and so what I want to talk about is when it comes down to sex. You know, we started at the beginning saying, you know, don't reward him. It shouldn't be a carrot on a stick. Like, good job, Hercules. I'm gonna reward you with sex. So don't do that. But the other thing is that it's not enough that you're just giving him sex. It should be something where he feels wanted as well. I think a lot of women go, okay, well, I don't turn him down. But at the same time, I remember there was a TV show, I think was it My Wife and Kids or something, and he's going to town and then the camera comes up and you see the wife and she's, you know, are you done yet? She's looking at a magazine. So a man wants to feel, without you faking, but he wants to feel like he's doing something. And a man wants to feel desired, even though typically, stereotypically, because it's often reversed in relationships, but a man wants to feel like his woman wants him, she desires him, and that he's pleasing her. So be demonstrative. You know, don't think that you're being this great lady by not saying anything. He wants you to make guttural sounds if that's what you're feeling. He wants your eyes to roll back if that's what you're feeling. Don't worry about your hair being in place or your belly not looking a certain way. He just wants to know, because selfishly guys want to say, yeah, I did that. I'm responsible for that happening. So if you start speaking in tongues or whatever happens, just whatever you need to do to let him know it's working. And also, I want to say to the women to initiate. Don't always wait. I have had countless men say, it is so frustrating because anytime there's intimacy, I have to initiate. And nobody wants to feel like that. So even if they have a higher libido than you, of course they're going to come to you more than you come to them. But if you know that out of 10 times, your partner is probably the one initiating 8 or 9, make it a point to initiate. Switch it up. Do something different. And if it's outside of your comfort zone, push past that. Because again, you are your partner's only partner and you want to reward them for doing that. Don't punish them. And so I think, you know, we have to make sure that we're not selfish, especially as women, because I hear it more from the guys that women can be very, very selfish when it comes to intimacy. Thank you, Chanicia. She's commenting on my little curls. Oh, you got your curls too. I'm just looking. It's so cute. I saw your little hair tie, but it just hit me right now. I do see the curls because you're a lot further back from your camera. You have the cutest curl pattern too. But yeah, it's just ladies, on behalf of all men, just think about what you need. And I think this is the part that's difficult with relationships sometimes. If we don't have the exact same need as our partner, it can be hard to empathize with them. So just like, let's just say if your thing is words of affirmation, maybe he doesn't need words of affirmation. So he might take it for granted and not think it's that big of a deal. Understand that maybe you don't have a huge sexual appetite, but for somebody who does, it is the worst feeling like you're needy and, you know, you have to beg for it. So just keep that in mind. That was like my little PSA. I wanted to give.
I want to piggyback off that to make it give
Jump
women
on, girl.
something that's easy and tangible, like to initiate, because a lot of women do feel intimidated by it. But I mentioned it before, make it playful, make it fun. I know, I don't know, I got like 50,000 ideas on how you can initiate sex. But like if you don't want that physical aspect of like walking up to him, grabbing him by his stuff, or, you know, pulling his pants down and, you know, doing, like, for men,
which they love.
They do that. I know, like
that is their dream.
Respond. I know. Waking them up to it, you know, that's a
look.
big one too. But some women are not confident and comfortable in doing so, which is understandable. So for those who are not, like, you can do like a little treasure hunt, like leave notes around the house, write it up.
Leave panties.
What'd you say? Leave panties.
Look, each note has a thong next to it.
Exactly. Like depending on where your partner work, like you can also send a pantygram, to his job in a concealed and confidential
You.
envelope and make sure you write for his eyes only or whatever. But leave a little note like this is what you have to look forward to when you get home.
Or send a
Or
dirty photo
exactly, you
without
can
him asking.
exactly. So little things like that, the treasure hunt around the house, and you can be laying in the bed with rose petals all over you or something like that. Like it doesn't have to be this all blown out, activity. Another thing is, which I mentioned before, is like emojis. My partner and I, we had emojis. So when I wanted it, like that was my way of initiating it, I sent a picture of a dress. He knew what that meant, and his was pants. If he sent pants, that was his, thing of like letting me know that what he wanted. And like all it is one simple text send, and you come up with that agreement. Hey, if I send you this message, that means that I am ready, and I want some.
Yeah.
And you can initiate it that way. It doesn't have to be this big blown out extravaganza.
And one of the other things too that can be such a Debbie Downer for the partner that's really looking forward to sex, if you don't enjoy sex and you do 15 million things, like let's just say you can tell your man's initiating, but you just have to finish washing that dish. You have to finish drying them. You have to pick up the kids' toys, and that, like by the time you come in there, it's like it's kind of killed that moment. What guys get so excited about is I posted something on my stories, and this guy messaged, when you respond to the story, it messages you, but he's like, man, that is my dream. And
Yeah.
it was a reel of a guy saying, it was him and his wife, but he did a reel saying what we want to happen. And so she was washing dishes and he came nuzzled up behind her. It was a real sweet moment, kissed her, and then she turned around like this, like, take me, baby. Like her face was just like, take me. So he lifts her up. She's real petite, puts her on the counter and just starts making out. And then it cuts to back to like the reality. I think a lot of women, at least what I see or hear, they're so practical, babe. And I always say to the men, be sensitive, help her out. If you want to get this, then maybe if you always know she's slaving over the dishes, then you sneak in and do them. Yes, we could speak to that side, but right now we're talking to the women. Women, be spontaneous. Don't care so much about all the little details. Drop everything. Maybe if you know he's coming home, send the kids away with, your mom or dad or whatever, and literally be vacuuming butt naked in your living room. I mean, just do something out of the norm, and it will go so far for your partner to see, especially if they know that you're not a wild child. It'll go so far because they'll know you're doing it for them.
I got my dream truck by being spontaneous and doing something like
Yes, got the keys to the truck. Beep beep.
another thing I was gonna say, like too, like even with kids, like it can be inconvenient, having this blown out sex, but lock that door, pull them in the bathroom. It,
Look,
it doesn't
jump in
have
the
to be
shower with him.
complicated, yeah, as we make it seem. Um, Dang, I had a thought you had mentioned some. Oh, energy. How you talked about like how some women will have sex. They really don't want to, but they'll do it out of obligation.
It's like an eye roll sex. Okay.
Do it at all. Like if it's going to be like that, because they can pick up on that. And just imagine, like, if somebody had to do something for you and they're just like here, with the attitude and they really don't want to do it, like how would that make you feel? Learn how to have compassion for your partner, even though if it's something you don't feel like doing or you don't want to do, find out why you don't want to do it and address it. Get help. I'm here to help. There's plenty of therapists, there's plenty of coaches, but whatever it is, if it's something that's agitating you or causing you not to want to do it, it's unhealthy to be
Yeah.
in a relationship like that. And it's a disservice to yourself, it's a disservice to your partner, and it can hurt emotionally. Have compassion. Think about it. If you were to go to a restaurant and they were to place an order and they'd be like, all right, I'll bring you your
Right
food.
here, and then drop it like this. Here you go.
Yeah. Are you gonna want to eat it? Are you gonna want it? Is it gonna be an enjoyable experience? No.
And
It's
men
gonna
don't men don't respond typically the way we do. That would
yeah.
evoke empathy. So he might not be like, "Oh, babe, it really hurt me that you rejected me, or you don't seem excited to be." He's not gonna emote the way we do. So it's going to come out in other ways. So you might not think your big burly dude cares. Or you guys might joke and, you might say, no, babe, not tonight. You're not getting anything. You might have made it a joke and he went ha ha back. But the reality is it hurts. They hurt just like we do. They just don't sit at the edge of the bed crying the way we might do it if we feel our partner is hurting. And I was going to say, too, with regards to sex, you're saying if you're not going to do it passionately, don't do it at all. That is specifically great advice for fellatio as well.
Oh, yeah.
Men all agree that it's all like, I'm going to just throw a number out there. It might be 70 or more % of the rating comes from her eagerness. The eagerness, the seeming like she's enjoying it. There's so much to it that's beyond just the actual technique, because you can learn technique. You could be the best person in the world technique wise and have the driest energy, and it's not the same. So, just whatever you do with your whole heart.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just in life.
In life.
Yeah.
Do it with your whole heart.
Out of it. Like,
or don't do it at all.
Exactly. I found number 12.
Oh,
which
cool.
Is, now it makes me realize how I forgot it. But it's called a orgasm. And it's like an orgasm while you're working out. Like from you. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I've heard of that, and I've actually heard of a condition where it happens and you can't stop it, and it's like a problem. Remember that show, not My So-Called Life. I'm dating myself. True Life on MTV. Yeah. True Life. I'm whatever. Anthony says minimal ghost. There was somebody and she could not stop, and it was like how you were saying about overstimulating it with the vibration, you don't have the pleasure anymore. It was like that. Like it was happening so much she couldn't pleasure, and people would laugh and be like, well, that sounds like the perfect problem. She's like, no, imagine you're trying to sit in a meeting and like it's just but after a while it doesn't feel good, so it's
a distraction. Now everything is in moderation. Imagine like you not being able to control that. You go on grocery shopping, it's just like, oh,
but she said it didn't even feel good because it's like it's over. Like I know for me, when it's at a certain point, it's like, okay, stop, because it's just you have climax. Like there is no more threshold. So many just stop. Because now it went into like, it doesn't feel good. It's almost like funny bone. Like it's too much sensation. Yeah. Yeah. Imagine you try to be a neurosurgeon. Like, oh! I shouldn't laugh. God forgive me.
Like that orgasm that I learned that I cannot listen to Trey songs and R. Kelly while working out.
Oh, it's so interesting. I was gonna say when I work out, I have a different sensation, but we'll just leave that. There's one machine that I can't use if I haven't used the restroom. We'll just leave it at that. It just, if you ever backed up, you guys, I can tell you which machine to use. But anyways, that's TMI. Future husband, I hope you're not watching this.
Oh my God.
Okay. So, all right. So we're just going to leave it blank. We're just going to pretend like my lovely titles are there for this next one. So this is just a bunch of random stuff that was actually going to be the title. Some random-ish to close this thing out. This is based on a conversation that you and I had. And I told you I want to have this on the show because I think it's so interesting. So we're going to divert slightly away from sex conversation, but it's still under the heading of relationships. So I had this epiphany. I'll give them the backstory so they can make sense of what we're talking about. But I had this epiphany when it came to dating. And we have all these rules that don't really have a rhyme or a reason. So back in the day, there was a thing called courting, go really far back. And somebody had obviously an attraction of some level or interest of some level. They made it known. And then the two people moved towards marriage to see if that was in the cards. That was the goal. And I feel like we have gotten so far away from that we have gotten into this modern dating thing. Well, this all came about because I said, you get to that point in the relationship, well, the point in the dating process where you're really feeling the person and you want to put a title on it. So many women say, where is this going or whatever. And I thought about it and I said, I can't think of a reason to have the title outside of sheer ego boost. Because if you think about it, in a healthy situation, and I am biased because my understanding or my view of healthy is two people are trying to get to know each other, not 15 people getting to know 15 other people at the same time. So if I am a person getting to know another person, I'm not going to act any differently on a Tuesday with the title than I did on Monday without the title. It really is a sense of feeling like nobody else can have this person, but it's a facade. Sorry for the monologue, Shirelle, but it's a facade because they were already supposed to be committed to you. I mean, technically they should have, and if they want to get out of being faithful to you, all they have to do is say out of their mouth, I don't want to be with you. So it's not protecting you from anything. It's just the illusion. So in my mind, let me know in the comments, what are you're thinking? He said that ain't climaxing, that's Tourette's. I cannot.
Yeah, he been cutting up in there.
Anthony's funny. I didn't realize how funny he was until, this year. He's really been cutting up. But the thing is that I feel that if we are intentionally trying to get to know somebody, it doesn't make sense to just act completely single and then try to act like you're married overnight. Like, wouldn't it make more sense to say, I'm getting to know you. All right, let's see where this thing goes. And then to me, the next step would be engagement. Because it's like, we have decided that we want to make this thing permanent. And now we just need the time to get ready for the marriage. So, what are your thoughts? I know we unpacked it yesterday, but.
Yeah. So I love that. And one of the things that, I teach my clients to do, especially when they're dating, is to have those conversations up front in terms of like, what's your vision or goal? What's your definition of dating? So there's one thing with being committed, and then there's a different definition with being exclusive. They're actually like two different things. So having that title, what does this title mean? Like, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? Because I found, and especially for myself, I found that a lot of people see like exclusivity as if, okay, that just means that I'm getting to know you, you're getting to know me, and we're, just seeing where this thing goes. Committed is like, nah, I'm in this for the long run. Yes. Like, we gonna do this, we are going to be engaged, we're gonna get married. Like, it's two different things. But it's very important to have those conversations up front, and to get an understanding. I think for me personally, depending on where we are, if we just meet, I'm, considering you to, if I see that you hold value or you can potentially fill this place in my life, that I desire for us to be exclusive. What's your perception, of it? Or how do you make that, determination? So definitely have those conversations up front. And then, like I say, with the commitment, it's more so, okay, we're in this for the long run. Like, now you can meet the kids. Now I can bring you around my family. Right. Now, after all those holes, and boxes are checked off, then we can, move on to the next phase, which is engagement, and then marriage. But all along, just like how you said, I feel like when you get to that point and you are, dating with intention, it's very important for you to be that person that you're going to be within the marriage.
Look.
Now, in terms of sharing responsibility, that's something different.
Right, but character.
But in terms, your character, how you treat your partner, who you are, sex, again, that's something that we're going to wait on. But those other things, do it now. Like, why not? You can't, portray to be a certain way now, and then all of a sudden, just like you say on Friday, you decide,
you're
okay,
another person.
So I'm gonna be different. Yeah, what's the difference?
Different. I really want people to think about this, because I feel like people are gonna hear it and say it sounds radical and be like, why wouldn't I have this title? But if you really, 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 really think about it, and I'm totally guilty. I would meet somebody, get super excited. You're feeling all those, endorphins and everything like that. And of course, the very beginning stage, everyone's at their best behavior. But this is the epiphany that I had. Even though I like everything that I see so far, how sweet, he said, in other news, you're more entertaining this whack Super Bowl. Thank you, Anthony. I would get so excited, right? And I would see all the things that I liked, and the guys saying all these amazing things. And you get so caught up in the emotion, it feels like a compliment for somebody to say I want to be exclusive, and it feels like a compliment for them to say I want you to be my girl, I want you to be my guy. No one else can have you. But like I said, with the title, the actions would come either way. If you are being exclusive, you already have the exact same dynamic. The dynamic is exactly the same. You just verbally said something, and now I can reference you as my guy. You can reference me. But outside of literally the title, your actions are not any different. Once,
Right.
like you said, once you have decided to be exclusive, this is the thing. So exclusive means that I'm getting to know only you. So that means that I have gotten far enough to say it's worth me locking in on you just to explore this. But even prior to the locking in, I feel like we don't give ourselves enough exploratory time. We don't have enough conversations. We don't cover enough ground. We literally have so much that we haven't unpacked. All we focus on in our generation, it seems like, is the physical. And then don't add sex to the mix. My God, now you just totally skew the data, because don't let them put it down and you have a hard time seeing past, the fact that he doesn't know his kids' names, or, whatever. Or it might be dark in the club and he didn't have side teeth and you didn't catch it till the morning. You know what I'm saying? You know me and my side teeth. So my point is that we have to slow down. Those of us who want marriage, if you want booty call, okay, this is not the message for you. Come back next Sunday, I'll have a different message. But the people who do desire marriage, we have to pump the brakes. And as a person who is a recovering hopeless romantic, I romanticize the idea of the relationship. So when the idea presented itself, I fell in love with and wanted to commit to the idea. And then when I actually got to meet the person thoroughly, that's why you have all these breakups. But if you had taken the time to do your research, you would have seen the breakup qualities before you even agreed to be exclusive. So I just feel like, we have all these things where we feel like we're let down and all this stuff because we've skipped. And I like what Anthony said, we've missed the friendship part of it. So it's like, just getting to know the person, seeing all the sides of that person, and understanding that those urges emotionally are just that. They are emotional urges. You don't know this person. You probably don't even know his middle name. You couldn't name his siblings. You haven't met his parents. And all these things, like I recommend that book, Don't You Dare Get Married Until You Ask These Questions. There's so much that comes to getting to know a person. I mean, I could go on and on. This is just fascinating to me.
Yeah, one thing I want to add, like when you have sex prematurely, like I was mentioning earlier, like especially if you climax, like you tend to cling, and like your brain doesn't know the difference is this is the person that I'm supposed to be in love with compared to, I shouldn't even have sex with them. But once you blur those lines, like it's hard to distinguish like what's true and what's not, what's, an illusion. And another thing you mentioned about romanticizing, our brain is so flipping powerful.
If fill in all those gaps.
If we were just to sit here and imagine ourselves like in Bali, thinking about the weather, thinking about the warmth, thinking about the time of the day, like just really embodying all of those, our brain would know, and our eyes are closed, our brain would not know or be able to distinguish the difference between being in Bali and being in my cold, bedroom in the Chicagoland area. But when we romanticize about that, that's the image we created within our mind. It's not reality.
Yes.
It's this illusion that we focus on so much that we trick our brain. And that's the power of manifestation. But just because you trick your brain, into romanticizing about a certain person.
The universe into changing him.
Like it's it's more complicated because he still have a free will as opposed to like me manifesting the house. You know, that's something
Right.
physical that don't change. All the universe got to do is bring those two pieces together. However, if you're manifesting in like your perfect partner, you can do that. But if
Yeah.
you're projecting that on something, the universe is telling you like, no, he ain't it. That ain't the one. Go this route. But yet you're so focused in tunnel vision on this one person that you're slowing it down. You're slowing
Yes.
down that process of actually bringing in who is meant for you. So it's all about surrendering
Oh my
to
God.
what the universe has for you.
What's she laughing? Wait. You laughing at a comment?
I'm laughing about surrendering to what the universe has for you.
I'm so done. See, I'm reading the comment. That one went way over my head, man.
Let's get focused on surrender.
Let's not focus on surrender. Let's not focus on opening up to what is in store. Woo! Oh, I wanted to say this, a little segue, because I actually forgot to do it earlier. But you guys, if you could do me a huge favor and like this video if you're watching it and you're enjoying it, obviously. If you don't like it, don't like it. But like the video, please, because it pushes it out. It sends the signals out to YouTube to let YouTube know that this is something good and more people should watch it. So if you can, click on there. I see all of you who are watching right now. If you all could just click it really quick, that'd be really great. If you want more content like this, hit subscribe. I want to do a little plug, but I really think it's information people should hear. I did a video on why are relationships so difficult? Why, everyone says, oh, dating, sex, and da-da-da-da. I really broke down why dating is so unpleasant for most people, including me up until very recently. And I broke it down, and I actually didn't think it was that great of a video, just to be perfectly honest. You do some pieces and you think, oh, this is good, and it's not so good. I really didn't think it was that great. But I got a lot of amazing feedback from that video, so recommend you watching that. It's the very last one I put out. Just dropped it on Friday. But it goes into why people are in relationships. And the thing is that, not to go too much into that content, but if you're getting into a situation because you have a sense of desperation and you feel lonely, you're going to cling to, out of fear, somebody who doesn't fit the mark. And I don't know anybody who's broken up with someone who did not see the red flags before they committed. I don't know one person, and I dare anybody watching to say, I didn't see not a single red flag. Usually the reason why the person breaks up with someone or ends a relationship or divorces, it's something that they saw prior to either walking down the aisle, being exclusive, or what have you. And so I challenge, and I'm actually practicing this myself, I'm challenging everybody to take things so slowly. I remember somebody said, oh, I want to take things slow. And this is back before I was healed. And I took it offensively because I was like, you must not like me as much as I like you. And, what are you scared of? I'm thinking he must have commitment issues. I'm not saying this to him, but I'm thinking this. And now that I'm in the place that I am now, I'm like, no, that's the sign of wisdom. There's no freaking rush. As somebody who's gotten divorced and freaking ripped my family apart, it's a horrible thing to go through. Those of you who've gone through a divorce, you understand how important it is to get to know the person, because just because you get to the altar doesn't mean you're going to want to spend a lifetime together. And our society puts so much emphasis, like this is the crescendo, this is the climax, the wedding. No. That is entering the gate into the rodeo. The guy who's riding that bull, you're just getting to that gate at the wedding. You have the whole bull ride to survive. Okay, so if you just are trying to hook them and trick them, and I'm gonna entice them with sex, kind of going full circle for what we started this conversation, then there's gonna be an issue. Anthony says if you feel lonely, get a dog. And this was something that I struggled with, and I hated admitting this because nobody wants to use the word desperate. But I felt desperate because I didn't understand spiritually what was happening. And, to reference the Matrix series a million times, for the millionth time, that's what I'm be covering in that. There are certain holes in our spirit that can only be filled a certain way. But we have been convinced that sex will fill it, a relationship will fill it, a career will fill it, what have you. And so for me, that was my illusion. My illusion was, if I'm in a loving relationship with a man, that last piece of my spirit, my soul, will feel complete. And so if somebody were to tell me, oh, go get a dog, I'd be like, that's not going to fill it. I mean, I know he was joking, but I really want to speak to that person who is desperate for a relationship. And there's nothing shameful about that. It's just an indication that your soul is missing something, your spirit is missing something, because there's a difference between being open to something and having a desire for it and a desperation that allows you to stay with a toxic person just because you can say you have someone, you know? So that's a little bit of a tangent, but I wanted to get that off my chest.
Yeah, I love that. And I can totally relate because for the longest, like you talk about like being into romance and
I
like
saw it
this
in your face, girl.
like I know since I was in kindergarten, I was the one who was ready to be married, have kids, start a family.
I
Like,
hated on my parents because they had each other, and I'm like bitter, like
yeah.
5.
So that was always me. And then when I became, I just knew it was going to be like my high school sweetheart. I met
Yep.
him first day of high school, and I clinged to that relationship like none other. And it was toxic. It was horrible.
But you
Brought me
had somebody.
exactly. So what actually, like, I remember my license plates. I even have a tattoo on my back that says "Love Me" because I was yearning for that. I was yearning to be loved. I was yearning for this relationship. I was yearning for this fulfillment. And
Now
it
there's
was
an eye in front of it. Sorry to cut you off. Now your tattoo has a silent eye. I love me.
But no, I went and I was actually going to get that eye in front of my sorry guys. I was going to get that eye in front of my tattoo a couple of years ago, but I ended up not doing it because they have to do the whole thing over again.
Oh,
But
so the color isn't.
yeah, I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. But
It's a silent eye. It's a silent eye.
Come to find out, which I learned a couple of years ago, is that that love that I was yearning for was for myself. Like I just wanted to, that's when I felt full. That's when I felt whole. That's when I felt fulfilled, is when I learned to love myself, which was about 3 years ago. But now, like, you can't tell me anything. Like, I'm content. I'm happy. I'm
From
not
her
even
head to her toes.
exactly,
Literally.
You
If you missed the beginning, you guys, you didn't get that joke. Okay.
I am going to, I think, like, have a date for Valentine's Day, a virtual date for Valentine's Day. But if not, if I don't have any contenders, then I'll definitely be dressing up.
And you will be showing yourself a good time, honey.
I know, right?
I love this.
But yeah, like, I can totally relate. It's basically like all I wanted to say. But that love, that desire, it came. That fulfillment and satisfaction, it came from me actually like loving myself, learning to love myself.
I like that. And if you guys would like more, on February 18th, coming up, I have a link in the description right under her link. But I'm doing a webinar. It's my very first webinar, and it's going to be free, no charge. But you can sign up to get that. It's going to be on Thursday, February 18th at 5:30 p.m. California time, which for East Coasters is at 8:30. But I'm going to be breaking down the lies that we have been told for so long. That is what's keeping people so depressed, having anxiety, trying to fill this void. And so I'm going to be covering a lot of stuff. I'm calling it the Matrix. It's called Free Yourself from the Matrix that we call life. And I want to get people to be able to open their eyes and see what's really going on, because for most people, myself included, it was a facade that we were living in. And so imagine being hungry and you see a facade or a mirage of a hamburger and you just keep eating this mirage, never getting full. That's what's literally happening in our world, because people can't tell what's a mirage and what's an actual burger. So if you want to get that, sign up for it. It's going to be an hour long. There's a link in my bio on Instagram, and there's also a link in the description here. I think it's going to be awesome because it's what broke me out. It radically changed my life. It's the reason why I can finally work out. It's the reason why I can actually watch what I'm eating. I'm down 6 pounds in just a handful of weeks. It is a game changer. And like I said, it's free. So if you know anyone who would benefit from that, share it with them as well. So I wanted to talk about how we were saying, start off with marriage energy. I truly believe that, like that verse who says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. I heard somebody say, it doesn't say he who finds a girlfriend, it's he who finds a wife. You already are that person. You just aren't in that role yet. And so I think that we need to carry ourselves in the dating space. Again, like you said, not to be confused with responsibilities. We're not talking about go put his name on the lease and all that. But as far as character, if for me a wife means I'm going to cook, then I should be cooking now, not wait till I have a man and let me figure out how to learn how to cook. I should be able to take care of finances. I should be able to know how to balance a checkbook. I should be able to take care of my body. I should be doing all the same things that I'm going to be doing in the relationship that I'm doing now. And also when it comes to just my character, I should be a kind person. I should be a listener. I should be a faithful person. I shouldn't be manipulative and sneaky, and what he doesn't know shouldn't hurt him. I believe in being transparent, because how you start is how you're going to finish. And for the life of me, I have never understood the tradition of wiling out on your wedding night. I literally don't understand that. Like, you're engaged, less than 24 hours, you're going to be someone's husband or wife. What makes this pre-moment okay? Like, you're still in a relationship. I don't get why somebody thinks that saying I do means that your relationship should change in any way, shape, or form unless you're traditional and you haven't moved in. That should be the only difference, that you're now living together and you're having sex if you held those two. Outside of those two, you should have already been living like married people.
Yeah. And I definitely think, like, to piggyback off that, like, when you're in a relationship, if you really love and care for this person, like, those same fundamental values that you're trickling over, into marriage should actually start before, you actually, like, cross that line. And it's just so much, like, when it's down to that, and not, like, really rushing into it, but the main foundation is making sure you're emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically compatible. And that's the whole thing. Once those boxes are checked, like, why not? Which I do know it takes time to understand those things, but those habits, the way you interact, the way you talk, like, all of that, the way you feel about a person, all of that, I feel like should be, done as early on as possible.
The reason why I feel like the desperation part is absolutely essential for healthy relationships and dating is because the desperation is what makes you throw logic out the window. If you're looking for a house and you don't have any, like, no one's kicking you out of your apartment, like, you're in an apartment now and no one's kicking you out, the rent isn't going up, like, there's nothing, like, it's not like there's a job in another state. If you don't have a sense of urgency, you wait as long as you need to before you find your dream house. You wouldn't rush into it and be like, well, it has a roof and windows, so you wouldn't rush into it. You're looking at the neighborhood, you're looking at the property values, you're doing multiple inspections. But the reason why we don't take the time for the most important commitment in our life is because of the desperation. When you're starving, you don't care about the nutritional value of an item. Hell, you might even break into a store and rob it. And that's something you would never do under normal circumstances. But desperate times call for desperate measures. And so all these people are getting into situationships. I can't even honor it by calling them relationships, out of desperation. Desperation because you're horny and you can't control your lust. Desperation because you need to feel valued because you don't love yourself. Desperation because you can't pay your own bills, so you want to cohabitate. Every reason other than, I think this person is going to help me become a better person, and I love them almost as much as I love myself. Like, we should not be, and this is why people are so bitter. They're desperate, so they commit too soon before they even really do their research. Then they stick around after they find out and are mad that that person doesn't change, and then want to assign that person's flaws to everybody in the universe. All women are suck. No, you stayed with someone that you saw sucked early on, sir. Yeah. She sucketh early. It's a trip.
It is.
Okay, this is the last one. Well, actually, there's two more final points. As we were talking about so much yesterday, I started jotting everything down. Okay, there's this stat that everybody keeps I say everybody, I'm so dramatic. Multiple people have referenced in my group talking about how it has been shown that women have a way higher percentage. I don't know if it was 70 or something really high. Allegedly, that women file for divorce way more than men. And I have a theory about that because I think that men more so have a stigma tied to marriage where they're considered failures if they, or at least in their minds, they see it as failing having the divorce, as opposed to a woman, the friends are just like, oh, you poor thing, like you're the victim, you're hurt. A man sees it, I think, more as a failure. So I feel that a lot of guys will just stick around because they don't want to feel like a failure, even though they're absolutely miserable. They can compartmentalize and kind of mentally go somewhere else. So I don't give kudos to somebody who didn't file for divorce, because I think a lot of people emotionally separate and can live in a whole nother bedroom, but they staying together. You know, what are your thoughts on that stat? Do you have any, hypotheses as to why women would?
I think, and then another thing, like men can stay married and not even like be in the household. Like for my situation, we were separated for years before I actually filed for divorce. But for him, it was like he knew how I felt about that paper. So it used it to his advantage that when he wanted to show up and play husband, he could. But he would also be able to leave and go do his thing, until the holiday season roll around. And then it was like, okay, we're a family again. And
The
once the
cute little
holiday season
pictures on Facebook.
yeah.
Wow.
So to me, like what took me filing for a divorce, honestly, because it it took me a while to file for divorce. I believed in making that commitment that, this is it. This is my, relationship or whatever. Like I'm going to do any and everything that I can in order to work it out, which he had that freedom to move about how he wanted to. And he wasn't tied or obligated because of that piece of paper until he wanted to be. And that was like from my experience from it. And I've known a lot of different women who have filed for divorce. It was more so being fed up with the
Yes.
action, the behavior, not necessarily that they were happy within the relationship, but it come to a point, like for me,
Like their breaking point.
my identity. Like I lost everything with it. It was a huge step for me to, walk away from that marriage. But then again, I also feel like some men don't, it doesn't bother them to stay in situations.
Yeah.
Like they will wait on the woman to leave. Think about it now. Like when it comes down to oral sex, even though they don't enjoy it, they still accept it and they won't speak up and say, like, hey, you're hurting me, or hey, that's uncomfortable. Men would rather pacify
It's just
the
trash.
I know, right? And not say anything at all at the cost of hurting her feelings. So
And I was going to say, oh my God, so many guys have admitted that on so many levels. Like, they just won't break up with a girlfriend, let alone a divorce. Like, men are so scared to make a woman cry or hurt her. This is why when they said, why won't you slide in a man's DM? We just did the post yesterday. And a lot of women said, and I said this too, if you do it, a lot of guys are flattered and they don't separate flattery from I actually like her. They're just so tripped out on the fact that, oh, someone who's cute, because they might even think you're cute, but they don't like you like that. And so they have a hard time saying no because, and this just came right now, women have a hard time asking men out because they haven't done it all their lives. Men have a hard time turning women down because they haven't had all their lives. They're usually the ones getting rejected. So when they have to do the rejecting, it's like, just like we're uncomfortable getting rejected, they have a hard time doing the rejecting because we're just getting out of our thing. But I was going to say this. There is a saying for a reason. It's cheaper to keep her. It's not cheaper to keep them. The saying purposely has a female pronoun for a reason. Because traditionally, the man is the breadwinner. I said traditionally, don't come for me, feminists. Traditionally, the man is the breadwinner. And when you separate, it costs you a lot of money. Because if the money is going to your one household, it's your same pot, but it's going to one place. When you divorce, that pot has to stretch to two households. So to me, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out why the women are the ones okay with leaving before the man is, because like we said, he can check out. And it's, it's like, I'd rather do this. And a lot of men just have the relationship on the side, and then they just go through the emotions there because they're like, at least I'm not having to pay divorce fees and,
Yeah.
attorney fees and all that stuff. So
I have another friend too who he had mentioned to me, which totally caught me off guard. He said like if his wife would ask for a divorce, he'd be like, "Where do I sign?" He wouldn't even think twice about it. And I was just like, "Wow!" And he was so serious and so sincere, about it, but he wouldn't dare
yep.
ask her for it.
And I think too, it's a little bit of an ego thing too, because everybody always talks about who filed,
Mm-hmm.
to the end of time. So a lot of people don't want to be that first one to make the move. So the last thing that I wanted to say is that we were talking about. Oh, I was like, why did I write that? So you had mentioned something at the beginning. You were talking about not rewarding a man with sex and punishing him with sex too. But the other thing I was going to say is we teach children, especially, a certain thing. Like, we teach the boys, go out and sow your wild oats, and then we think that just magically he's going to meet someone and completely change everything he's done up until that point, from puberty until then. But the other thing is that we rush into relationships, which means that we have to break up a lot because we've prematurely entered in, right? So when we break up because we no longer like what the person is doing, or we're no longer motivated to work it out. And I believe it is strengthening a muscle that should never be strengthened. You get this habit of, I rush in, finally actually get to know you, and then I'm like, I don't really like you, and then move on. And then you think that somehow when you get married, you're going to learn how to work through something. Like, and when you're in the dating world, you always have the illusion, not illusion because it's real, but you have these options in the back of your mind. If he doesn't act right, I can just break up and then have somebody else. If he's not paying attention to me enough, I'll date somebody else, if it's not exclusive. And so we don't learn the skills of working through problems. And so when people get married and they hit problems, it's like, what do I do? And nobody knows how to get over their ego. Nobody knows how to work through stuff. It's just, Anthony says men don't want that drama. But the thing is that you have drama already. You have a level.
I think for him, they see it as like being quiet. So, it's like if I don't say anything or I don't complain, it's kind of like I'm not causing this uproar. Because, a lot of women, if like, say for my friend, if he was to go to his wife and say, okay, I want a divorce, like, think about what that will be as opposed to him just
Combustible.
uncomfortable,
You know what?
different.
You make a really good point, because one of the guys was saying, he said he didn't, but this was only just in breaking up, because I said, why is it that men will stay in a relationship for so long? And I started calling it moonwalking. They will moonwalk out. They won't turn their back on you, walk out. They will moonwalk, and each little slide back is them with retreating, them not contacting you as much, not spending time, not whatever. And he was saying they like the women for it to be her idea because it's less combustible. To me, that's so sad that we are so toxic as individuals, as women. I'm just saying collectively, we're so fragile that we're going to become unhinged. Because you hear more about guys snapping and like killing. That sounds so dark, but women are more so the ones that snap and like keying cars, I would think, throwing things, setting cars on fire, burning shoes. Like, you don't really see a lot of men throwing clothes on front lawns and burning handbags, and you know what I mean? Like, maybe I just don't hear these stories. Well, what the hell? Why are we so unstable?
But think about it too, like adultery, which I have been putting this off for the longest. And I know I'm supposed to do a live on adultery 101, like basically like how to cheat. I just feel like so many men cheat because of this. Like, they're not satisfied and fulfilled at home,
But they're scared to get out.
Instead of me opening up my mouth and saying, hey, I'm not happy, can you do this? Or either when they did say it or when they did do it, they were, demeaned and turned down. so now their other option is to, step outside of their marriage or step outside of their relationship to, get their needs met. And I think that's a lot of reasons why. If you be
That's
like,
deep.
what was I listening to? Something I was listening to, and the guy was saying, like, if he was to give his girl a compliment and then be like, why are you looking at that? I remember one time for me, like, this is being vulnerable, transparent, just how insecure I
Safe
was. Like,
space.
yeah, I had on my husband and I, my ex-husband and I, we had a falling out, and I really wasn't talking to him, and he had seen me walk by in my underwear, and instead of him saying something then, like, he just kept it to himself. So when I went out grocery shopping, he sent me a message and he was like, those underwear that you had on look nice. So in my mind, I didn't know he had seen me. So in my mind, I'm like, you just text me by mistake. I left that cart there. I hurried up, went home. I had my beater, my police stick. I went in that house and I was like, who you texting? He was like, what? I'm like, who you texting? Like, who underwear look nice? And he was like, yours. And what you gonna do with that stick? I felt like this big, but and I am like a laid back, gentle, easy-going person.
Yeah,
So
you
just
are.
imagine somebody
Being
like,
that riled up. Yeah.
yeah, like what could have transpired and what could have went wrong. And I feel like women jump to conclusions, so much, and we allow those emotions to be expressed, that for men it's just like, hell, like, I'm just not gonna say anything about it. I'm
And I
just gonna
think
go there and get my needs met.
psychologically, because I think there's so many layers and things to this. Women are told from a young age your value is in being picked, which is why I think women claw in and cling on to the relationship, and the woman will ride it. And I said this in my marriage, I rode it till the wheels fell
Yep.
off. I rode that sucker until there was steam coming off. The metal was grinding on the pavement. Windows had busted. The paint was chipped. I rode that sucker. There was, a rope tying the trunk down. Like, I rode that sucker till the wheels fell off. And, I just think that it's because a lot of times we see our value in men and
Yeah.
being in a relationship. And so with men, they don't have their value tied, because they're not raised that way. They're raised that their value is tied to money. So I think it's just interesting, this whole dynamic. So if a woman isn't healed, she's going to cling to a relationship, even if it's unhealthy. The man, because he doesn't want to deal with the combustibleness of the woman, he's just going to step out a lot of times instead of having to deal with that. It's just this horrible cycle. And then it validates to her that he's the problem. And then she might not get the work done for herself, because when you offend someone, you slow down their progress, because all they can do now is focus on your offense.
Yeah.
And
I did a post earlier about, like, I'm so tired of hearing women complain about men. Like, the reason why you're complaining is because you're still hurt. Who gives a fuck? Excuse my language, but who cares what happened 10 years ago? Like, let it go.
Like Elsa.
And just because that one person did it doesn't mean that all men will do it. Heal. Take that time to heal. If you're complaining about someone, which I had to laugh at myself too, because I was like, if you're complaining about someone and you're agitated about their feelings, that's a mirror of something that's going on with inside you. So I felt like that applied to me, feeling that way about women. Like, why am I so bothered and so agitated that they're so bitter? Like, I'm not the one who's bitter. Like, I need to find out what's inside of me that's causing me to feel
I
that
hate
way.
that rule, though. I hate that rule. That truth.
Plug this up quick.
Oh, okay. No, I hate that truth, that when something agitates you, because I caught myself the other day. Somebody was being so freaking arrogant, like, not arrogant like haughty, but they were so full of ego that they couldn't see, like, because they forest for the trees, they couldn't see the truth because their ego was just telling them something, and they were so stuck and being so stubborn. And as I'm telling the story to somebody else, I'm seeing how annoyed I am, and I'm like, because I teach this, and I was like, oh, dang, that means that I have an ego problem and a stubborn problem and a pride problem. And I was just like, never mind. I don't even finish the story. And I go in a little prayer closet. I was like, okay, Lord, show me where I need to work on my ego. Because it's so true. And I'm sure we've all had a friend who's venting and complaining about somebody, and you're dying to be like, pot, kid,
Right, right,
pot, kid.
right,
Like, how do you guys met?
right.
I tell, man, when folks need to work on that. One of my pet peeves, I will say this. You and I both are equal opportunity correctors. Or I would say I feel like you speak the truth. I've never heard you be one-sided when you speak what we both believe is the truth. So in my group, I will fuss, but I will fuss equally. I go into Mama Yancy mode. And men, y'all need to stop da 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 da. And I'll do the same thing. Women, y'all need to stop da 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 da. It drives me nuts when I single out a problem that tends to be more of an issue with one gender. And in that moment, mama's fussing at that kid.
Yeah.
And then that kid wants to be like, but my sibling. It's like, that's how I hear it in my head. Like a little sibling, but Johnny did that. It's like, dude, we're talking to you right now. And so, if there are posts, you know what I'm talking about. If there are posts and it's dealing with men, and then you see the women chiming in, well, guys need it, or or a guy chiming in, yeah, but the woman. If we all would just stop all this and just hold a mirror up to ourselves, and if every single person focused on themselves, we all would get fixed.
Exactly.
It'd be the main ones trying to give advice. You're like, if you would just apply that advice to yourself.
Exactly. In life, if we stop pointing. And then like there was this saying, I don't know where, it was like a movie or something, but you point one finger at somebody else and you got four more pointing back at you. Like, just think about that for a minute. When you trying to place that blame, like all you're doing is projecting, as opposed to taking accountability for your actions. Then moving forward from there, focus on the solution. I hate getting to places where somebody is like, well, they did this and they did that. And I always say, for every challenge, there's a solution. You get to choose. Are you going to focus on the problem, or are you going to focus on the solution? Like either way, you're going to move in one direction or the other. Are you going to go forward, or are you going to go backward? I hate, well, you said this and you said that. No, none of that even matter. We're trying to get across the street. How do we get across the street?
Right. Who's the blame for falling off the sidewalk? It doesn't matter. Let's just get to the other side. And my thing too is like, if somebody is always focused on how they were victimized, oh, they did this and they did that, and you never can extract what you could work on, to me, it's wasted pain. If I'm going to go through something that was terrible, let me at least have something. Like I'm not speaking out of turn. My ex will tell you the same thing. Our marriage was hell. But thank God I moved from the victim mentality, because at first he was just Satan himself. Oh, yeah. Now I can take almost complete responsibility. I say complete because of the domino thing. Like I did that first domino, and then everything else was more reactionary from him. He wasn't necessarily aggressive with his, stuff that irritated me. It was more so me not doing, which led all, whatever. But I just feel like there's so much power in that. And so when you always look at a situation to see what can I learn from that, and not that petty, well, what I did was learn not to date a Cancer again. Like, no, I don't mean that kind of, what did you learn? A little backhand. I hate that backhanded insult. Like, what did you actually learn? Maybe it's that you rushed into relationships. Maybe, whatever. Then you're giving away your power, because everything that happens in life is meant to teach you something and to propel you to the next level. So if you only can live your life like this, turn head back and pointing, you're never growing. You're always staying the same.
And that's one thing, like, I hate, where people be like, well, it wasn't their fault, and like labeling somebody as a victim. So for example, my husband cheated on me, and they're like, you didn't deserve that, but I take responsibility for my actions.
For the part that you were.
I never closed my legs to him. However, I had this deep-seated fear being cheated on in my relationship. So it was like I was trying to do every and anything I can to overcompensate for that fear, and I ended up manifested in. That was my doing. I'm not giving him credit for that. Like, I allowed him to do that. That's, like, that's my lesson learned. Like, don't try to portray me as this victim. I'm not the victim. Like, we co-created that together. And that's how I feel, period. If people would just take accountability for how you played a part in that.
There's so much power in that.
It sure is.
Because nobody can jerk you around. There's power in everything.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. And it was like once I got to that place, I was able to then protect myself going forward. You won't find me. How can I learn this position, or how can I do this position? Because I don't want my man to cheat on me. Like, hell, I'm not doing anything, except owning my energy if I don't want to be cheated on. But I'm not going to follow up behind you. I'm not going to, go snooping in your phone. I'm not fearful the way that I was before. Like, that fear is uncovered and undealt with, and I'm no longer a magnet to that. Every guy that I have dated after my husband, well, I think like -2. And I mean, like, even dated, like even just meeting,
just
going
casually,
on a couple of dates, have been loyal, have never cheated on a woman like within their life. Why did I start attracting that in? Because I healed that part of me that was attracting in men who cheat.
Yeah.
Like that's what people need to learn. Like, what is your energy saying? Where are you vibrating at? What's your baseline? What are you attracting in? If you're still hurt about something, that's your baseline. All that pain is letting you know, hey, I need you to tend to this.
Yes, tend to this. Give it some attention.
And I'm ready to be let go. Just like I tell my kids all the time. If you have an odor coming from your body, that's your body's way of showing you that it needs you to address that. It needs you to take care of that. That's a sign. The same way that pain, that emotion, that hurt, that's your emotions telling you, hey, your soul needs you to take care of this so that you can be free. I'm ready to be let go, but it's up to you to do the work or not. And a lot of people hold on to it like a crutch. They hold on to it.
Put it in a sling. Yep.
Exactly. Like, I need to tend to this fear. They won't say those exact words, but that's what their actions are saying.
And when I describe manifestation, I had this idea. I'm the metaphor queen. I love metaphors. But I did a video and I was equating manifestation like a Google search or a voice command to Siri. Mm-hmm. If you say, Siri, don't look up Christmas lights.
Exactly.
All she hears is Christmas lights.
Yeah.
She'll still put in the don't the, but it's, it's not going to really bring anything. It's going to bring up that search. So if you don't want something, leave it out of the equation completely. And the thing is that you can't leave fear out of the equation if you're hurting. And that's why stuff like, the Matrix webinar that I'm going to be doing is so important, because people need to understand how to heal. Because when you're not healed, everything you do is going to, 90%, is going to come from a place of fear. What I want to avoid, what I'm scared of, what, just fear, fear, fear. And the litmus test is, are you doing something because you're excited and you want to do it and you're going towards it? Or are you doing something because you're scared of something and you're trying to move away from or prevent? When you're motivated by the latter, that is the biggest red flag that it's wrong. Wrong, bad for you. It's an illusion. It's one of those matrix signals. You think you're doing the right thing. I'm running from danger, but you're not. You're actually moving away from where you're supposed to go. Not saying you should move towards it, but you're moving in a direction that was never meant to be a path to go on. You're just off on a tangent somewhere. You were supposed to be here. So it's so important for people to have that thing healed, because it's going to just throw your GPS of life completely off, even though you think that you're sparing yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. I would even say, like, you think about if you watch certain people and how they interact and how negative they are. I just think of a woman coming to mind because, a lot of times we got that neck roll attitude, whatever. We do a lot of those things because we don't want to be hurt, taken advantage of, whatever. But the irony, the more we defend ourselves and protect ourselves, the more we slip into masculine energy, and masculine energy repels men. So it's
Yeah.
like everything that we do, if we don't do it from a place of intention and a place of desire, it has the opposite effect. I don't want to be taken advantage of, so I'm going to close myself off. Well, guess what? Closed off people don't get friends. Closed
Yeah.
off people don't take business opportunities, because they're so scared of losing. You actually do the opposite thing that you're trying to garner. So you gotta heal it, because your logic will tell you, like that the plane analogy, they say no matter what you feel as a pilot, always use your controls, because you might feel like you're in a totally different direction, and that's how you crash the plane. So fear is like you not using your control center. You're going off of a faulty, navigation tool. You gotta go with logic and what makes sense, and not fear. So, but it's easier said than done. That's why it's important to deal with a professional or somebody who's trained in it or has learned by mistake and has gone to the school of hard knocks.
I think about that Chinese thing. I don't know. What is it called?
The
You know what it's called?
fi-
Fingers.
Chinese handcuffs, is it?
Who?
Is it called Chinese handcuffs?
I don't know. But I know you stick your fingers
Finger
in
both ends. Yeah.
and when you pull out, like all it does is attach more. Like you can't really release. And in order for you to get your fingers out, you have to go within. And it's the same thing when dealing with that hurt. Like you have to go within and actually deal with it, as opposed to defending and pushing people away. Like think of it like that. The more
Wow,
you
that's
pull,
a powerful metaphor.
thank you. But the more you pull, the more, that resistance come up. But when you release and you go within, you can easily let go of it.
I am curious just to see.
What it's called?
Yeah, it is. Oh, it's Chinese finger trap. But
Yeah.
I call them Chinese handcuffs, and it literally it comes up if you put Chinese handcuffs. But yeah, the little Chinese finger trap. But that is so interesting that it's a perfect metaphor for what needs to happen. So I'm gonna be wrapping this up pretty much now. My little closing things I want to say, but I want to give you an opportunity if you had anything that you wanted to share. Like I said, you guys, her contact information is going to be a hyperlink after the fact, since I couldn't get the cool graphics. But Charelle Thomas, it's Charelle E. Thomas, on Instagram if you want to connect with her. But is there anything that you have coming up that they can look forward to? Maybe even if it hasn't been released yet, just.
So this week, I just want to share, since Valentine's Day.
That's right.
Sunday, in the spirit of giving, I will be doing a lot of lives. I will be going live every day this week with different topics and tips, love tips. I think I'm gonna have the goal, 2 different fellatio sessions, just hearing it from a man's perspective.
Okay.
As to my own. But I'll also be doing like little things for women to initiate sex, easy ways for that, different things on healing from the past, but just having fun and bringing that love into the week.
Oh, nice.
So definitely check me out on IG, Instagram, as well as Facebook. I am Charelle Thomas on Facebook, but I'll be going live in both places.
Okay, perfect. So stick around there. And obviously, guys, if you ever have any of my guests and you want to get their information, you don't see it, you can always DM me as well. So that was awesome. You are 2 hours ahead, so I know you've got to be fighting sleepies because it's getting late on my end. But I want to say thank you so much for joining. I'm going to go ahead and wrap. If you guys have any questions, now is the time to write them. For all of you who hit the like button, thank you. I can see them going up when they do get clicked on. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. You know that you could stick around till the end if you'd like. Otherwise, I will chat with you later, darling. I'm going to wrap y'all up here, though. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sign me off. Somebody had asked in the comments that they thought that it was, less than 1% of urine. There has been different studies, and I think that the results vary just because of the, it's contingent upon like a woman's body. Like you don't know what was left over in the urethra before those liquids actually came out.
That makes sense.
Squirting. So I did want to address that before.
Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, I did see that, but I don't know the answer. Okay, like I said, stick around if you want in the green room. But I'm gonna tell the good people of YouTube a good night. Guys, thank you so much for watching. So sweet of you guys to come on, especially considering the fact that we had a whole Super Bowl. And so I wanted to say thank you. I'm gonna close out with a little bit of information here. Where's my little screen? Y'all, I be trying to do. There we go. I be trying to do all this stuff, and it's too hard for me to concentrate and click at the same time. Oh Lord. Okay, if you guys would like to advertise your business, you can do so on here right now. We have a couple hundred people every week that watch, and so the content is evergreen, meaning that at no point will this go away. So if you do advertise on a video, everybody's going to see it until the end of time, or until there is no YouTube. God forbid that ever happens. I want to give a special shout out to my patrons who join me on Patreon every single month, and they provide a small contribution to help me continue with my content, because this is done on good faith until I get everything up and running that I need. So thank you guys for that. Those of you who are on the Patreon, in my VIP group, you guys have access to the Sunshine Club, so make sure you take advantage of that. You've already got that coming. I don't even have a tip of the week. Tip of the week is going to be to come to my webinar. Mark your calendars. It's Thursday, February 18th. I'm going to teach you how to get out of the matrix, and this will allow you to be able to start achieving all the things you haven't been able to do before, whether it's losing weight, whether it is making that change in your career, just everything the way that you thought. You have to reprogram your mind, and you're going to start to be able to do things that you never thought that you could before. If you would like to join my Sunshine Club, I invite you to do that. There is a link in my description. And in the Sunshine Club, we basically are a community of people who all have our goals. We all have things that we want to achieve, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual, what have you. And we get together and we encourage each other every single week. I give tips and tidbits. And then every Tuesday, I do a live video chat with them. We go on Zoom and we all video chat. Whoever wants to come on camera does, and whoever doesn't want to doesn't. But it's nice because we can always follow up from week to week to see the progress that we've made. And so it's amazing seeing people's journey and seeing how they're progressing, how using their new thought patterns, they're able to overcome obstacles that they formerly were not able to do. So that's really, really cool. And so that's basically it. I want to say thank you. If you guys have hit that like button, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys have subscribed, you're going to get the notifications every time I come on. And y'all pray for me. Pray for me that I can get a new laptop. Because this ain't it with the graphics, you guys. So normally I have my cute little music to go at the end, but I had a little technical glitch. So we're just going to pretend like it's going to play for you guys now. All right. Until next time, tell someone that you love them.